Hello, 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 you guys. Welcome to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. If you guys are a first time viewer, happen to be a first time viewer, should I say, please hit the like, the share, the subscribe button, alerts, and all that good stuff so that you can follow me if you're on the YouTube platform. If you're on Twitter, I really don't know how you do that, but follow me there. And if you are on Facebook, you know, go ahead and hit the like button on the Facebook as well. If you guys are returning viewers, hey, I know it's been a while. I've been off. I know I've gotten a ton of requests to discuss this piece since it became a thing and it was floating around sometime last week ish. But it's like it's a thing for some people, but not necessarily for me. Specifically, I was asked to address a particular question, and I will do that over the course of this recording. However, I do want to kind of get into the gist of doing all of my covering my responsible content creator components, which is something that I'm going to talk about tonight as well. But so you will see the topics of discussion go across the screen as the intro is playing and all of that good stuff. And I will be back to have this, wonderful, fun-filled, theme-filled discussion about the life of Kevin Samuels and his life on YouTube and my thoughts, my reflections, of course, answer the question of that you guys have asked me, like, how do I feel? Because I was a person that constantly did reviews of content around his responses and some of his conversations that he's had on his platform with other people about their business and their life and his opinions. And that's okay. But we'll go ahead and we'll jump into this intro stuff. And then I'll be back in roughly 3 minutes or so, 2 to 3 minutes. And we'll let this stuff play. And I'll see you guys just back in a moment. Hey, you guys, welcome back. I am reading a comment here from a viewer. I think this is from my reminder of the show going live. And I thought that was interesting. Mark Williams, he says, I see his imprint, speaking on Kevin Samuels' imprint that he left, as giving everyone something to talk about. Men and women are on social media praising him, while other men and women are criticizing him. I've seen more of his content come across my timeline than when he was alive. I've had to go to his page just so I could judge for myself. I really like that one. Really like that. It says, what may be an invaluable imprint to some, I see men and women who found intrinsic value in his platform. We're going to talk about that too. One thing for sure, his followers and naysayers are talking, and people like me are learning about him. I just don't understand why people pay so much attention who they label as ain't shit. I think that was nice. That was well put. And so I don't know. I think that that's an interesting comment. I think that that's an interesting comment in and of itself, because the reality is, one could ask Kevin Samuels the same question if he were still alive, right? Why put so much of your energy and so much of your attention towards other people's lives and their behaviors and, conditions of their behavior if you really feel like the value of these women and the worth of these women is absolutely nothing? So, welcome to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. This is a platform where we have the difficult conversations around issues that affect directly the Black and brown and melanated community in America and abroad. We have these conversations and sometimes we ask the difficult questions. I am okay with gauging the difficult conversations, answering the difficult questions, and all of that good stuff, because I feel like sometimes we have to have those conversations in order for us to expand our understanding as to how we adapt and how we grow in a healthy way in this world where society is so conflicted as to what it looks like for us to lead normal and healthy lives. And so I am Dr. Jefferson. Welcome to my platform. If you feel the need to comment, to ridicule, to curse me out, or whatever it is that you want to say, feel free. This is an open platform. This is definitely a free country. Just know that I will not post the comments that I see or my producer sees as not necessarily on topic. So it could be offensive. Who cares? Everybody has an opinion. Okay? They're like assholes, really. 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 Everyone has one. But unlike assholes, some people have multiple. And those opinions are welcome here, even if they don't necessarily, reflect that you agree with me, because you don't have to, right? So in my attempt to toe the line and have this conversation and give an honest answer to the questions that were asked of me, I have decided that these are the particular topic areas that we're going to explore, and in this particular order. We're going to talk about Kevin Samuels, the content creator. We're going to talk about the responsibility and accountability component of content creators. That's what CCs are. And we're going to talk about Kevin Samuels, the man, which I think definitely need to be that needs to be discussed, because oftentimes people see content creators in one light, and they don't realize that the light that they see a person that is creating content and pushing content out on social media, it may not necessarily be fully and wholly representative of who that person is and how they lead their lives. Some people are extremely honest and open with their lives on social media. And some people are more like reality TV. They are doing things that attract a certain population of people and give light to a different type of conversation. So they're really just there for entertainment, and to also challenge people on, their views in life and things like that. Okay. We'll also have a conversation about legacy and imprint, right? The impression that we leave on people while we are connected to people as we walk this experience called life on earth with others. And you guys will get my final thoughts and reflections about the death of Kevin Samuels and kind of what my real thoughts are. I'm one of those creators I happen to be very authentic in my presentation online because I'm not here for the money or the clicks. I'm just not. So I'm here to have the discussion. And for me, these are things that are important because I think cognizance helps us to avoid repeating negative cycles and negative patterns that have already transpired in our history, because sometimes we walk through life and we're ignorant of things that have happened. And when we live a life that is oblivious of what has happened and what the outcomes were as a result of knowing what has happened, we have a tendency to repeat history. And the thing about repeating history is that you're repeating it in the same fashion, in the same style. It just looks a little different for you because you're in the dance. And at the end of the day, you have the same outcomes. That says that as a society of people, our growth and our maturation happens to be stagnated or retarded or whatever you want to call it, right? And we don't want that, not if we want to be people who are progressive, right? Or growth oriented. I think it's really important for us to have these discussions because they help us to see where we've gone wrong and perhaps opens us up to the suggestion of doing something a little different. Okay. So let's talk about Kevin Samuels, the content creator, because very much like Mark Williams, was that his name? Mentioned, very much like he mentioned, right? This guy, he's just seeing content from this guy. He is really just learning about him. And I do remember when I was first asked to do a review on his average at best, which gave him popularity. Okay. When I was asked to do that review on my channel, it was after I had personally sat through as a clinician, because I'm a psychotherapist, after I had personally sat through several different assessments where these young women felt very low sense of worth, oftentimes helpless, hopeless, and borderline suicidal, passive suicidality, right? As a result of having sat through some of his content on social media. Now, the first thing I want to say is that people are imprinted and impressed in different ways. Although you may see an adult age assigned to a person, sometimes that adult age is not indicative of their level of maturation. Emotional maturation is something that comes with time, experience, tenure, wisdom, insight, exposures, okay? And whether or not you learn from those exposures, experiences, etc., indicate sometimes how we become congruent with self. And so while you have some people that have a very strong sense of self and they know who they are, they know where they stand in life, some people don't, right? And Kevin Samuels, the content creator, is just a person that is behind the screen that is looking for clicks. He's looking for clicks because clicks turn into coins, cash, money, and oftentimes in a world where there is so much going on and where it's so difficult for people to live lives authentically and function in the careers of their choosing, but they struggle with issues, social issues, right? Oftentimes mental health issues, social issues, and trouble with engaging with other people and interacting with other people and things like that. It makes it very difficult for people to hold down a good job, right? Or a steady job or function in a career, right? And these are just realities. These are realities that human beings face every single day. So, this guy, having faced all of these challenges, apparently, because he's gone through an unsuccessful relationship, then a couple of unsuccessful relationship ending in divorce and things like that, he finds a golden nugget after years of trying on social media to make it by targeting guys and talking about fashion, style, and things like that. He's online talking about these things because these are things that interest him, for one. These are areas that he has struggled with, for two. And these are also areas that, because he was interested and had struggled with acquiring the right knowledge and the right know-how and moving in those social circles, he figured, you know what, why don't I find myself online giving the same level of advisement to other people who are young and who are out here? Maybe that'll keep them from having to go through some of the difficulties that I've gone through. This is just me on the outside looking in, making an educated guess of what inspired this guy to come to social media, considering the fact that his initial target was men. And he had an initial target of a different topic, okay? So he gets on social media and he realizes that he's not getting the type of response from the target audience, you know? So what do we know about marketing, scalability, advertising? When one thing has proven to be failing, because the numbers tell us, because the numbers don't lie, as this guy says, oftentimes the stats don't lie, right? When collecting the data about people actually coming to, his platform to view the content that he had available, and he's watching the movements of other guys. Now, this is not just my observations on the outside looking in. This is also me having listened to and reviewed several of the videos where he's had conversations with these individual creators. So he has conversations with these creators. They bring more people his way because they're talking about things that, though they're talking about fashion and they're talking about sort of like a segue into relationship and masculinity and what being a man really means and things like that. What's that guy? What's that one we did the video and showed the content? Alpha. I can't think of him either, but he was a male that was on there. He's pretty big, along with the names like O'Shea, Duke Jackson, and stuff like that. I can't think of his name. It's Alpha something. So if you guys remember, if I have viewers who are watching right now who have watched that video, and you remember that guy's name, just type it in the comments for me. But so there is this guy, he's having this conversation with him, and they're talking about, basically some of the main pointers of what drives women to men. So that attractability component. This is when I think he recognized that there is value in having those kinds of conversations, right? And so since there is value in having those kinds of conversations, he shifts gears. And when he shifts gears to create content that is more appropriate of drawing the type of traction that he needs to his channel, he starts to talk to men and girls, men and women about the same sentiments around dating, attraction, and what qualities are in a man or a woman that make them a viable partner. Essentially, he moves into that area and he stops talking about dress and those things as a centralized focus directed towards men. And now he's moving into a directionality that takes him towards relationship congruence and talking about, this is what it takes for you to be a person that's of value, and moving into relationships, right? And essentially, I don't even think that he knew. I don't. But for those people who are social psychologists that are out there, who are psychotherapists that are out there that are watching this content, and you have reviewed a couple of videos of this guy's content, what was really happening right there is him recognizing that there is a social awkwardness about himself and his previous position in the world, and that there is some acceptability. There is something here of value, right? So he positions himself in a place on social media to where He is towing the line with like-minded individuals with a very similar trauma, and I've talked about that relational trauma with women and men relationships, right? And they, almost start like a gossip column, and at the same time, you see the MGTOW movement, which is men going their own way, kind of really take off. And so there are more men that are gravitating to that channel and having those discussions and listening to the words of wisdom, as they say, that Kevin Samuels is spewing. I had one person that viewed the content on my page and said, "What do you mean? Kevin is the Godfather and he's speaking and preaching and teaching God's word." Watch out now. Here's the thing. There are a lot of things that you will do in this life where we all have free will, but to bring forward a conscious group of people to think that you're delivering a message that is given from a higher power, a creator of man, I don't know. I feel like sometimes we're treading lightly, when we talk about these issues and the manifestation of the power of the tongue, as they say, right? The reality is, whatever it is that Kevin Samuels' message, happened to validate for his followers, it was for his followers, right? Those people who clicked like, continue to watch, continue to have the conversations. Because one thing that you guys will say, two things for certain that you have heard on my channel repeatedly, is that I just don't like the guy. I don't like people that are disingenuous. I don't like people who spew messages or give messages to people that are not congruent with the life that they live. And so that's these YouTube streets. They're like reality TV. I just don't indulge, okay? And so my personal feelings are just, they're still the same. Nothing changes. So for me, what I see is a guy who was a content creator who created content that initially failed because his target audience was not interested in what he initially decided to talk about. But eventually, during a conversation with a very toxic male, he blew up. And then he decided to pursue that relational conversation with Black women. Black women, and I know this is going to really sound cliche, but Black women is one of the most unprotected groups in America. But the truth of the matter is we are. And there is a reason for that. And it's not all on men. Just going to be honest. When you are so grandiose as a woman in your femininity, and your femininity becomes toxic to the people who are connected to you, the people who are supposed to be protecting and providing for you, it might cause them to divest quite a bit. So I call a spade a spade. So as Kevin Samuel sees that he's had difficult relationship and he's towing the line and having the conversations with these other men that have had difficult relationships with women, there are some things about us as a culture of women that make us less than cooperative, that make us angry, that make us upset, that disappoint us. And I think what happens is there are so many Black women out here trying to fight the idea or the stigma associated with who we are as Black women, as a culture of women, that oftentimes it's hard for us to own the incongruences that present in our presentation. Because if we are to own it, then we are just another statistic. And you saw this guy constantly combating that the brokenness in those women were confrontational because they called him because they needed some level of validation from this person that is lost. And really, essentially, he's just there to create content, to get clicks. That's it. To draw attention. And when you think about the purpose that we have in life, perhaps there is a space for that type of voice and a necessity for it. And I've said it several times, like a lot of folks tabled the conversation of whether or not Kevin Samuels needed to be canceled because of his content that he was putting out here. Hey Mario, how are you? You should come on up and share your perspectives. But I constantly said no, because here's the thing. Everybody has the right to voice their opinion. If his opinion is that the system, the institution of marriage is broken irrevocably because like there are so many ideals in young women and young men that don't align with, having a long-term marriage survive, whatever. That's his platform, right? But when it starts to be a powerful message that you are pushing forward, and your message is now impacting the way that people show up in their lives, it impacts the way that people value their life in general. It impacts the way that people see other people in this walk in life. When it impacts the way that men and women are engaging with one another or disengaging with one another. When your message is one that is so powerful to do those things, I think you have to check yourself. And I think you have to ask yourself, like, have I done the things that are necessary for me to responsibly create this content and push it out there for my following? Have I been responsible? I feel like content creators on YouTube and so many other platforms have zero accountability. I do. I feel like we have a very, very powerful voice. For one, you can be heard in several other countries. There is an imprint and an impression that you are pushing out there into the atmosphere, into the universe. And people might see you as a representative for the group of people that are, characteristic of what you look like and what you talk like, right? So not what you talk about, but what you talk like, right? I think we have to be responsible with the content that we push out here. Content creators oftentimes are like, well, people are responsible for how they take me and what they do with this and blah, blah, blah. And you're right. You're not responsible for another person's actions. You're not really even responsible for their emotions. But when you are pushing out content at a high volume and there is a message in your content that moves and shakes the way that the world around us moves, and you see that your following is kind of cult-like, and there is no variation of opinion, there is no acceptability of opinions that are different from yours and things like that. Like, you have to do your due diligence to be responsible. That's all I'm saying. And that's what I've been saying from the very beginning. It's dangerous when you are a man at that age and you're telling these young people who are one day aspiring to connect with a person in a meaningful way and build a life with them, and you are a roadblock in their path to success, and you're telling them, no, marriage isn't for Black people because Black women are lesser than, right? If you are a person who is pushing out that type of content, that level of irresponsibility when it comes to your content being created, it's damaging. Okay. So whereas I believe that everybody is entitled to their opinions and posting them as they see fit, I don't believe that you should be harming other people in the content that you decide to put out here into this atmosphere, right? Where we're all trying to be and coexist. I think you have to be responsible. So I'm going to post the link for Susanna so she can come on. If anyone else wants to share their insights, that's fine. We are into the second topic right now. Just please understand that if you come on, you do have to cam up because I'm just not for the foolishness. Go ahead and put that disclaimer out there. But so there is a certain level of responsibility that I feel like as a content creator, you should be exercising in the delivery of your content. Now, my intro is a perfect example of that. I speak and I am very clear of the fact that yes, I am a psychotherapist, and we do talk about sometimes some issues surrounding mental health and how to get help and things like that. And I am a doctor, and I do talk about health and wellness and things like that, right? But I'm not your doctor. I'm not your psychotherapist, right? And if I were, I wouldn't say it online because privacy, HIPAA, that piece. But, one of the things that I think about is the fact that oftentimes, like I said earlier, we mistake the person that we're viewing in the YouTube, Facebook, Instagram streets as the personality of that person, really. And apparently, Kevin Samuels wasn't that guy. You know, that's the reality. That's the reality. He told these women that they would die alone because they were overweight, and that meant that they were unhealthy, and they were single, had children over the age of 35, and black. Multiple fathers sometimes, was an indicator. And he told them that they would die alone. Yeah, with a dog or cat, animal. And the reality is, yeah, like my headlines read, he died in that same way. It's funny how karma works. The reality is you have to be careful what you put into this universe. You really do. What you do comes full fold back to you. So it's about positive energy. If you're going to put out a warning out there, don't make a generalized blanket statement about this group of people because you don't know that group of people. Each one of these women that you are given this very rigid questionnaire online to, each one of these women may have some indication as to how they may fall in line if you're very, very rigid with your questions, right? With your perception of what their lives entail. But it doesn't create space of who this particular person is. And to say that this is who they are is quite irresponsible. It just is. It's quite irresponsible. And for you to have a following that large at the time that you die, and those people have created a cult-like response and mentality around the things that you teach and you say, because that's what it is. It's teaching, conditioning. And they're so impressionable. I think there's a certain degree of responsibility as a result of knowing what has happened. Hey, tendency to repeat history. Mute the show. And the thing about repeating history is that you're repeating it in this. All right. Not yourself, but the show. So close out the show background.
I don't know. I can't find it.
Our maturation happens to be stagnated or retarded or whatever you want. I'm just muting your mic so there isn't feedback. But so bring up the tab where you had the show and then close it out. You're on your computer, right? Thumbs up for yeah. Thumbs down for no. Okay. It says device not connected now. Yeah. I don't know how she gets the link. Let me send it to her on here. Because if she closes it all the way out, then she can come directly from the link, right? Excuse him. So give me just a second, you guys. Let me send this to Susanna. Oh, man. So that is not exactly. But while I'm doing this, go ahead and share your thoughts and your reflections about your feelings around karma and Kevin Samuels, and more importantly, content creators and their responsibility to their following in general. Oops. Okay. So that's done. That's that part. What?
Yeah. You told her.
All right.
You told her.
So Brandy says, I didn't know much about Kevin aside from recently hearing some of his trifling comments and beliefs about women. His reputation definitely preceded his presence and who he possibly truly was as a man. He got back what he put out, unfortunately. I agree. I agree.
Oh, I had to-
I agree. And I feel like oftentimes, we don't think about the impact of, and of course, hello Brandy. I we don't think about the impact of the things that we say and we do while we're in this life and in the dance of life, unfortunately. But everything that we do at some point has to be answered for. And it goes to understanding your life's purpose and understanding the best way to attenuate your senses in alignment with what you're destined to do while you're on this earth and being curious about it. I think when you think about the level of trauma that has to happen to a person that follows a cult in this way that his following presented, because I know a lot of folks don't know about Kevin Samuels, and that's the thing. And neither did I. It took him humiliating this one lady and calling her average at best, and people were like, "Oh, looks, right?" The looks alone mean that, this woman is not average. She's above average. She's beautiful. She's gorgeous. All of these things. We become so lost in our process of self-valuation to the point that we have to ask someone else on social media to validate us or to remove that value that we've attributed to ourselves. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous. I think that if anything, the best thing that Kevin Samuels could have done was highlight that there is a real problem in the Black community. Because now women are randomly finding random men in the Black community to validate their self-worth. So, I don't know. Susanna, what are your thoughts? Oh, you're muted. Let me see if I can unmute. Hold on. One sec. Let me message her.
Oh, I didn't have my mic on. Is that what it is?
Okay, now
we
we.
gotta get on for the past 40 minutes. But yeah, I mean, I was just listening to what you say, and I think that was his purpose. What he did was presented the stuff that he presented made sense to some people who I actually really, think were um, sort of, let me think about how you said. I think people liked what he said because they got attached to his trauma, and he brought out their trauma. People
Mhm.
didn't realize it. So even some of the things that was said that was, certainly in my book, and didn't sound healthy to be describing women as, people got attached to. I know I've been reading stuff since his passing where there's been a lot of, well, he said all these things really make sense. Um, that's his opinion, right?
Mhm.
But say the kind of stuff that, if you are in this business of being honest and being real, part of that is that you are supporting people.
Exactly.
Your goal is not designed to put people down. Like telling people how they look is as a result of what they're not gonna get. It's not
Yeah.
a healthy thing to do, right?
Right. Because here's the thing. Yeah, you might feel that way, but there's someone for everyone. That's how I feel. Like, and looks alone and looks period. Let me just be honest. As a marriage and family therapist, I've never
Mhm.
seen a healthy relationship, be a relationship that was selected based on the way that their partner looked, because who that person is so much more
That's
and
right.
right than what they look or appear to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you as an older man, because that's the thing, you're an elder man in the community, these young people are lost. This whole generation is so impressionable and they're lost. And so when you take them under your wing and your guidance to them, your words to them of wisdom and insight, that the value of a woman is only her sexual marketplace value,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're talking about a group of species that were created by any god, and this was his gift to the world. This is
Mm-hmm.
what it is that he did in and of itself. Women are the only ones that are given the gift of reproduction. So you would you would go forth and shame that group of individuals for doing just that. That's probably one of the greatest, sins or offenses that you can
Right.
do to a god. Like if I've created an element, right, and then I've given them the gift to do this thing themselves in this way, and it has to be done through this vessel. This
Mm-hmm.
particular vessel has to now be shamed for doing the work that I've given
Yeah.
and bestowed upon you. That's interesting, and I thought it was even more symbolic that he died right before Mother's Day. I'm just saying. I as a spiritualist, I believe in wholly approaching and
Mm-hmm.
towing the line of accountability when it comes to what work you do, what energy you put out into the atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
how you connect with people, and understanding the impact of your connection and your imprint. Right, you have your legacy is what lives on even after you have physically died.
And I firmly believe people that there is a God who gives you the ability to do this kind of work. And if you don't use it in the way that it was intended, this is what happens. You have this divide, you have the people who follow you ends up feeling even more lost, even more confused, even more divided as a female, as a male, in their own self. And
Hmm.
that, spirituality is something that holds Black people together in America. We
Hmm.
know that from even way back in slavery, that is what held people together. And
Hmm.
when you present, when you have a podcast where you have a divided sense of what that is by how you describe people,
Hmm.
that is another level of trauma that you're creating to the people who are already following you. And
Right.
maybe people doesn't pick that up at the moment, but
Yeah.
his loss may in fact bring that on for those who haven't recognized it.
Yeah, I think that in reflecting and seeing the imprint that he left, I think people are now forced to question whether or not you're following the right guidelines. Because I mean, from the medical standpoint, even though people see weight as an indicator, a direct indicator
Mhm.
of not being healthy, right? You have this guy that claimed to be the epitome of healthy,
Mhm.
the epitome of the right size and stature. He had the height, had all of these things that he saw as highly valued in a man, right?
Mhm.
The epitome of what he thought was rich and apparently not. You're living in an apartment, you die in an apartment alone, essentially, because the person that you are having sex with on that day, obviously, clearly she isn't your wife, right? And she's saying that this is her first time being at your apartment.
Mhm.
She's frantic, watching you go through the process, doesn't know anything about your health history, how she can help. Because the truth of the matter is, the reality of heart attacks is that
Mhm.
those immediate moments after that person starts to experience that chest pain is so important. It's pivotal
Mhm.
to what the outcome will be. And so this woman can't even help you. She can't even help you. Right? So essentially, you die alone in the same way that you have cursed the Black woman to meet her end after she's been effortlessly searching and even seeking advisement as to how it is she, aligns herself with what she needs in her life. These women obviously see that interdependence is something that they want. They
Mhm.
want to have a man. They want to have a man that they can depend on to take care of them, to lead and guide their system and things like that. And when they come to you for help and you're an elder man in the Black community, you shun them, shame them for doing just what it is that they were put on this earth to do in an unhealthy way prior to them
Mhm.
coming to you, instead of encouraging them to reconnect and find a guy that values them for what it is that they do bring to the table, whatever that may be, from that woman's perspective. Because essentially that's what it's about. So let me read Brandy's comment. The complexes in the Black community are still present for sure, and the boys assumed to be men that supported him and validated him just make it so much harder for Black women. I agree with that.
Yes.
Most of it, not all of the men that followed him probably did not and does not have a healthy or sustainable relationship with any woman. Hence Kevin at the time of his death. Exactly. And Kevin wasn't all that physically it's like that. I look wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly agree. I think, but one of the things that he wanted to make comments about is that he had a large penis.
Well,
something to somebody.
What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, with your worth.
Like a man, is that how men identify themselves?
Right.
I have boys. I've got to go ask. I'm going when we get off the show to ask my husband and my boys.
I'm gonna ask the producer. Is that how you identify your worth as a man? Your penis size?
No. I cut to your character. Not like that. No.
So all unattractive men rest. Oh, Brandy said
people who have self-esteem issues will.
Yeah, she said we're insecure men. Yeah. But what does that say? Right. What does that say about you as a man when you see your worth as your penis? And the interesting thing to me, and you know, I'm only saying because that's what it is. You know, I'm gonna call a thing a thing on this channel. Mm-hmm. Many of these young men out here and older men out here are relying on Viagra, Cialis, penis pumps, and things like that. And those are things that lead to heart attacks. Not saying. Okay. Those are things that lead to heart attacks because, and that's one of the reasons they say, you know, make sure that check with your doctor to make sure that you are healthy enough to take this particular type of regimen, right? That says that men do draw on their sexuality and sexual performance to validate their existence as men. But the question is that healthy for you? Yeah. As men, like, are you guys really thinking about that when you do that? Not saying that you all do, but when you do that, when you think that you still have to be able to toe the line and have sex with a woman, even as you age, and you're supposed to be becoming more mature with age. And I think that that's one of the questions that we have to ask. Like, do you think that for you, that's your existence as a man, your penis, your money even?
And where did you learn that from?
Right.
Is that what men teach men on how to understand what a man is? Is that how men teach another male how to understand what a man is?
No.
Are you sure? Because from Kevin Samuels' platform, one of the main questions he asked young men.
Right.
He said, you got a big dick?
Right.
I'm going to quote him. That's exactly what he said.
I heard that before too, but I'm just saying that's the individual thing coming from that individual. That's not every man. I never thought about no stuff like that. That's not right, no guy that ain't that ain't normal.
I know, it was very weird for me, but hey.
Do that. I mean, you might see them not on purpose, but you even just image and talk about it.
I don't know. I've heard stories from other men saying that they were in the male's room in the bathroom at a gas station, and men sometimes are peeking over and they're like, "What you looking at?" I don't know what that would look like for me as a woman.
We don't do that to each other. Well, you know, I don't know if we look at breast size. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as a woman, I definitely look at other women's breasts and I'm like, man, I want those.
And I said, man, I gotta get rid of
you. Yeah, give me some of those. Like, woo. Like I'm aspiring to get there one day, and then you just don't get there. No. So, if you don't make it, if you don't make it, I'm just gonna be honest. You know, back in my day, it was a thing to stuff your bra with tissue if you didn't have it, okay? Like, this isn't tissue, but I'm saying I'm not.
Which
I'm not,
toilet paper tissue?
I'm
Or
not
blow your nose tissue?
there may be a day where I need the tissue, and I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't, but I sure will. That's what padded bras are.
Right.
So, Queen says, I didn't like that he degraded women the way he did. I felt so bad for the women that came on his channel for help. He was cruel and heartless. I agree.
Yes. Yeah.
But where does that come from?
Right. Where did he learn that it was okay to talk to women like that so he can feel okay about himself?
Or more importantly, you know, one of the things that I learned from reviewing his content and doing reviews on Kevin Samuels is that his mother and his sisters, because he said that he grew up in a household full of women, and his aunts,
okay,
all of them had a certain level of grandiosity, and none of them had
a man.
Yep. So he learned the weakness of women from the women that he had in his life, the women that were responsible for attenuating life to this guy. To me, some of those, it tells you that there is resentment,
okay, anger,
jealousy, right, and anger. Because like now you've been rejected by women in your life, so I know what it is that hurts you, right? And then he further his conversations on his platform talking about, well, who files for divorce? Women file for divorce. That's just him speaking his truth. I was divorced by 2 women. So it's women's fault that they end up lonely.
That men end up lonely. Okay.
No, well, that the women end up lonely because.
Okay.
And then he says that women are going to die alone. You say that, but sir, your ex-wife remarried. So apparently that's not a true narrative. Like what delusion are you living in? Like,
right. And what are your thoughts about the man who's supposed to be in your life is not in your life? Why isn't that talked about either? Where's your dad?
Mm-hmm. And he refused his dad.
That's really the real elephant in the room. Where is dad who's supposed to raise you and teach you what a man's supposed to be like? Because that's a perception of males, that the man is the one who teaches you how to be a man. Well, obviously he did not have a man in his life.
I agree.
That, and a lot of his anger is probably more about that, not having that male. Because all he had was women.
Yeah, not having that male figure and having the male figure that he did have when he had that male figure was not really worried about him or trying to teach him anything about life, about what it meant to be a man or any of that.
Right.
And so for me, one of the things that I wanted to make sure was articulated in tonight's show is the fact that Kevin Samuels, the man, was a very different individual than Kevin Samuels, the content creator, that was a separate and a distinctive personality that was built around his grandiosity. And so, oftentimes, like on this show, I have discussed, there are, everybody wants to say, oh, a narcissist is this, a narcissist is that. And oftentimes the features, some of the centralized features that they're looking to pin the narcissist as features of OCPD, because they're controlling personality disorder. But when you think about this inflated sense of self-grandiosity, which is a narcissistic quality, when we think about personality disorders, and we looked at how it was externalized or directed towards other people, this group of women, these group of men that were lesser than, because he needs to see himself as superior, and those other people that are down as inferior to him. When you're thinking about those components, his struggles as a man led to his success as a content creator, I believe, because he channeled his insecurities to create this bigger grand personality or persona where people would be glorifying him one day. And essentially they started, I guess, to toe the line. But if you have to put the other person down in order for you to be positioned at a place of importance, what does that say about you in the beginning? So for me, what I see is Kevin Samuels, the man, he, to me, as a mother, as a woman, and I know like lots of you are going to think that this is insensitive, but go and have your opinions and do what you want. But my opinion is this: as a mother, there is just no way, and I feel sorry for Beverly, the mom, right? Because to create a life that literally degrades the group of women that you identify with.
Who raised you?
Right.
Mm.
Like to create the life of this person, to give life to this person who then goes and he does this thing and this becomes his job, right? And to sit with the way they had to find out that he died. They found out on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to find out from social media that my son has passed, for me to find out as a mother, as a family member of this man that this person has met their end. Of course, he can't call him. But to find out in that way, that's a lot.
That's heavy.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And then to know that the way he died, the who with, yeah, you see that your son is an adult male now. You're not responsible for the sins of him, right?
No.
But to some extent, there is this component, I think, that says that we are representative samples of the people that condition us, and our parents are those people.
Mm-hmm.
And so what kind of legacy did this guy leave? What kind of imprint did he leave, on these women? That it's interesting, as the internet kind of conveys that the people who he is survived by is his daughter and his mother. Those are literally the areas where, those are the areas where he attacked women. He attacked women who were mothers. He attacked women who had daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Even attacked women who had mothers that were married coming up, that decided that, and their mother said that they wanted something else for their daughters.
And it's interesting because he would talk about the stuff he would talk about. There was never any reflection about himself in the process. He never got I've never heard him enough talk about him to help people understand where he get to this point, of that he felt he needed to even do this.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like, I've done reviews that definitely tie in those components, but he's never talked about those things because, of course, that would be him taking ownership and recognizing that there is a problem there
with him.
Right.
That's right.
So Queen says, I think he was really aiming at women that he grew up around. He was talking to the women in his life when he said the horrible things to his guests. It was his way of telling them off. I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree on so many different levels, because the reality is, yes, he definitely has some
unresolved mommy issues, daddy issues. Yep. Sexuality issues.
Yeah. All of it. And I don't know. If the women in his life watched this channel, they had to feel like he was speaking about them.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure. I am pretty sure. But I just think it's so interesting that he wanted to push this idea that, I'm just trying to help these women, because if they're overweight and then this is just me. Hi, this is just me trying to make sure that they're healthy, blah, blah, blah. Because they could die. This could kill them. Obesity is an issue in the Black community, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. You're talking about this, but these obese women are the one dying.
Under the disguise of, I need to tell the truth, no matter what. Because it's important for people to really not sugarcoat stuff, which is what he have done all along.
Mm-hmm.
Sugarcoated his own insecurities, his own sexual issues, his own anger, resentment, guilt, shame, trauma. He sugarcoated that stuff.
Yeah, and he masked these people's issues and their pain with, he masked his pain with theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so he replaced it, and that's what he presented, and he made that the centralized focus. Mm-hmm. But underneath, he was really trying to resolve those things. Queen says he resented his life and he resented them. Totally. And I feel like if I'm his mother, there's no way I'm a different kind of mom, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just honest. I'm a different kind of mom. I'm a different kind of family member. I'm a person that strongly, when I say strongly, strongly believe that the energy that you create, the energy that you push forward, the energy that you dance in life
Mm-hmm.
is the same energy that will be continued when you go.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that my son would be creating content like this in representation of me.
Absolutely.
And then I'm the woman that is responsible for burying that said son. It's going to be a rough life. It's going to be a rough one. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. It's sad that he became so popular and relevant over the hate he put out toward black women, a black man riding on black woman's back to come up. I agree.
Yeah, but
I,
he survived because he lived off people trauma. He what he preached was about people's trauma, so women could identify. Oh yeah, my mother was this, and my sister was this, because he said they were. They could identify that. They could identify the hole that they've got inside of them, just like he had, but didn't talk about. They picked that up pretty well.
right?
Nobody knew what to do with it. I hope some of these women actually went to therapy or something so that they could move forward and realize they have a therapist that helps them understand some of the things that he shared.
Right. And
Was
I start working.
good in the sense that it allowed you to know you needed to get some support.
Right.
And that's a good thing he done.
Realizing that stuff.
As really unhealthy as the things he shared, what he allowed people to do is to take a look at their lives.
I don't know if it's just taking a look. I think he allowed people to take a look at their lives through his lens, and that's it.
It was a lot of them did.
Yeah, because you got to have because you have to give credit to the disallowance component,
Mm-hmm.
because he would disallow these women to comment, to give their rendition of what their value is and why they
Mm-hmm.
felt their value was this or that. And when they did not agree with him, he would literally
Mm-hmm.
defame these women publicly, humiliating them.
Yeah.
So for me, you know,
And I wondered how many, because they got even more depressed and unhappy, went to therapy. I don't know. It'll be interesting to know.
and he definitely said a mouthful at times, but it's definitely sad we lost that brother. I feel like Kevin Samuel's death. I feel like Kevin Samuel's death was a direct result of his life, and all of ours are. Everything has to come to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And when I feel like when you are, like I said earlier in the show, I feel like when you are pitting people against God's creation, right? And you're degrading them for doing God's work, I feel like, a God is only going to have so much, right? Before there is enough. And so I think that the thing is, so many people have lost faith and lost sight of faith and spirituality and religion. And that's fine. Believe in what you want to believe in. But please understand that we all have to atone for everything that we live in this life and do, whether it's good or bad. And so when you put that negative energy out here, you damn well better be ready when it's time to toe the line, and that's your last say. That's your last say on this earth. But God has the last say in all things, and so I think that that's what's being highlighted. And I just think that we have to understand that the imprint, our work here, is really, really important. It really is. So if that's the legacy that you left, if that's the legacy that you revered in, as you knew that that's what you would leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that was your position in life when you are now gone, then I think you got to have that same energy. I don't know if there's a Saint Peter, Paul, or whoever, right? I don't know who's there to receive him. I don't know what questions he's going to answer, but that's him, and that's his maker, his creator, his spirituality in the aftermath of trying to figure out how he lived this life and whether or not he has done the work that he was put here to do versus the work that damned and shamed the creator of life. So my thing is, as a God, like I told you, if I gave this creation of mine, human beings, the authority and the gift of creating life through the vessel right here. This vessel will not be shamed for doing my work. It just won't be, because if I didn't command it, if I didn't want it to happen, it wouldn't be able to make it happen. You understand? So I just feel like there are a lot of things there that, like I said, people just are not fully owning. Let's put it that way. I think that it's a gift to be a mother. I think that the gift of motherhood, of parenting a child, is something that is a challenge as well. I think it's challenging because it requires so many different parts of us. And so mothers should be honored for that job that they do in the same way that women honor fathers. And oftentimes you hear so many young women say, oh, well, I don't need a man. I don't need a man. I don't need a man. I feel like Kevin Samuel's platform could have been a great way to and to realign himself with his job and his purpose as a father, his job and his purpose as one man that was put on this earth to respect and be congruent and in alignment with the woman that God also created, right? His platform could have been used to push together meaningful relationships and more congruence in the lives of these young people, instead of pushing them away from one another in a way and creating this division where you are sexualizing this woman, even sexualizing men, because even the men suffered the same wrath.
Right.
Do you have a big dick? What do you think that means? Like, if you have a small penis, that you can't have a quality wife? Your quality as a man lies within your penis? Like, to me, there's just so many, there are just so many pieces that say that this man, when he created his legacy, was unaware that one day that legacy and that imprint would be a permanent one, and that story would be written, and the book would be closed. Because that's the thing, like, when you die, that is who you are. As you are living life, you're still becoming. And so that book is still being written. And so if you're continuing to, contribute negative connotations and negative ideations, and you're creating these cults, and it's driving people further apart, then you're undoing what God already intended to do.
And when you look at that, when you really understand the big picture of that, you're looking at somebody who's really spiritually bankrupt.
Right.
Inability to have sympathy and empathy and to provide supportive feedback, to be supportive to your audience. Just talk the truth, but be able to say, look, if this is what's going on, let's look at alternative. Let's try to understand it, rather than just stay with, this is you fat, you got to have a big penis to be a man, and then end stops right there.
How tall are you? How much you weigh?
Right.
What's your dress size? He said,
what is that all about?
Size matter. So size matters to what? It says, do size matter to women? You mean penis size? And mind yourself, you're saying women, right? You're saying women, not females in general. So females are in a state of becoming. To a woman, the size of your penis does not determine the size of and the content of your character. For a woman who is looking for a husband to find her, like if she's positioning herself to be found by a husband has qualities that don't include his penis.
Right. Like that's the bottom of the list.
Right. Like that should be the last thing that you see, and that should be after the ring is there. But I understand that this is a nation of people, and this is a culture of people, young people, who believe in doing that dance without necessarily having the commitment from one another. And that's fine too. Even in that sentiment, a woman should be looking to the content of the character of a man to lead her in the system and guide and construct a healthy ideation of what relating in a healthy way looks like. Like, this man should be able to submit to a higher authority. That authority and that power should be his God, their God, something bigger than himself. We're talking about a guy here who really believed him to be the God of man and the godfather of so many, right? When he was nothing. And so I think that you have to, because literally that's what he is now. Now, what is he now? That's the reality. What is he now? He is a dead
Remember.
idea. Said based on social media comments I read since his death, some are upset that others are speaking of who this man showed up as during his life, as if people are supposed to lie about who this man was and not supposed to speak the truth about how he made black women feel. People remember how you treat them, and unfortunately, you can't convince anyone upon your death. Exactly.
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 And how he made black men felt also. I mean, it was equal opportunity offender. He really was.
Right.
Slated more on women, but the little digs that he made about men was just the whole the what left the imprint left behind was just as heavy about the things he said about women.
Exactly. So, no, Sam, is that your name? N-O, Sam? New
New
Orleans?
Orleans thing.
Oh. So, is it fair for a woman to not be satisfied because she loves a man intellect? To not be satisfied.
Not sexually satisfied. Is that what he's talking about?
You know, he trying to say if it's okay for her not to be satisfied sexually because you fell in love with intellect.
It's not just his intellect. So the content of a man's character is so much deeper than just his intellect alone.
Mhm.
It's about his emotional intelligence. It's also about his actual cognitive intelligence. But more importantly, it's about his ability to submit and for him to understand that life is about it's a journey of learning and attributing the lessons that he learns appropriately over the life where he's leading that system where that woman is an integral component. And so it's about perfect harmony and alignment, respecting the positions that the two of you play. So it's a lot more than that. Sex and satisfaction during sex, right, in a marriage between two people, or even an intimate partner relationship where people are closely connected emotionally and spiritually attuned. In those in those relationships, sex is satisfying because the intimacy component is there and it's 100% present over the course of their becoming. So it's not just about the physical aspect of connectivity, it's
Mhm.
about the deeper connectivity. And women are not physically stimulated into an orgasmic climax. That's a mental component. That's all in a woman's head. So it doesn't matter how large or how small your penis is. If you don't connect with that woman, if there is not a sense of connection, and some women are in very, very insecure spaces. And
Mhm.
that connectivity comes with the validation of you just accepting her and inserting your penis inside of her, literally.
Mhm.
But if you don't connect with that woman, you don't satisfy that woman anyway. Not for this moment, the next moment, any moments. So it is about a deeper level of connectivity. So I think that, and from a sex therapist point of view, oftentimes you men think that your large penis is doing a lot, but it isn't doing nothing. Women are just really great actors.
Wow, very good information. That's all right, bro.
Mhm.
No problem. But it's about that for me. It's about the fact that here it is, he's left this legacy and his imprint on society, on the black community, on this world, and so many of these people that he has literally conditioned. Because I'm not gonna lie, the guy had a great following, but we know that negative publicity gets more
Uh-huh.
clicks, more likes,
Right. Right.
right? Because and that's a sad truth about us as people. If anything, Kevin Samuels that should teach us that we as black people have got to do better as to how we entertain ourselves. Exactly. Exactly, Queen. I was just about to go there. She's like Oscar winners.
Terrible couch.
Because the reality is that the woman is a very, very powerful element of influence on a man. And you're right, Brandy, misery does love company. And so I think that Kevin Samuel saw that. He saw
Mhm.
that women have been influencing him his entire life, and he wanted some level of control. He wanted to be able to control some narrative. And the narrative that he decided to control is whether or not he could live in wealth while he was here on this earth. He talked to people about financial gains and goals and wealth and building. And his true worth was much less than what he articulated he was bringing in. because your worth is not based off of what you bring in, but it's about how you move the money that you bring in, what you do with that money that you bring in, because that money should be able to continue to create further income for itself, right? Wealth is not about the money, it's not about the dollar signs, it's about the ideals
Yeah.
and how you use your money. I agree.
Hmm.
The more popular he became, the worse he got.
Because he had an audience who supported and followed what he said, so he had to continue to live up to that. And as as someone on a platform, on a TV, and on camera, he had to continue to create more stories.
Yeah, and he had to continue to be in this negative space
Hmm.
because the people who were watching him, they came for that negativity. They came for that type of persona. That's literally what they were
Hmm.
there for.
Absolutely. Yep.
There is no
What
way.
happened? Where did it go?
Right. Like I'd rather be in a relationship with a person that knows me, trusts me, loves me,
Hmm.
than to be in a relationship with a person that looks like, walks like, moves like
Hmm.
what somebody else said is perfection. Right. I'm looking for somebody who makes me whole. And
Right.
that's what relationships and healthy congruence in relationship looks like. You shouldn't be looking for what society deems to be appropriate. You should look for what your heart tells you, your inner components of you tell you are appropriate.
And the comment before said he died a lonely and broken, lonely man. Clearly, he died a really lonely man. He lived a lonely life. Looked good on in front of a camera. Off camera, we know there was a lonely man just by the fact of his content.
And even underneath on camera, you can see that there's a lonely man, excuse me, a lonely boy crying
Hmm.
for validation and acknowledgement. That's what I saw.
That's
That's what
really.
I saw constantly every single time. Every review, if you guys go back to the content that I reviewed about him, literally to the letter, I have said the same things that I am saying now. So nothing has changed but his book being closed. Outside of him giving people relationship and different type of finances advice, it became a business for him to make money. And apparently, sir,
Hmm. He didn't.
apparently, bashing black women is lucrative and it's unfortunate and very hurtful. He took the bait and died alone. He did exactly what he shamed and cursed black women to do. I think, like I said, you got to go back to those biblical days. But that's why the Bible says,
Hmm. He right. He was describing his life all along.
yeah, power in the tongue. Like you have to be careful. Like for me, I don't spite people.
Mm.
I can see you going down a path that obviously is going to lead to your demise, right? I'm not going to shame you for doing just that. I'm going to help you in any way that I can to help realign yourself with your best qualities because I'm looking for the capacity in a person. If you go and you look for the negative qualities in a person, that's all you will see. You have to learn how to be curious in this thing called life because healing, true healing, walking a life of healing means you recognize that there are qualities in other people that definitely are a part of your trauma. So you can trauma bond with a person.
Hmm.
I'm not telling you guys to not trauma bond with people, but recognize the value and the worth and in your position in that person's life when you do decide to trauma bond with them because maybe you have a greater purpose than what you previously had thought, right? So that's my biggest thing. It's a way to do this thing.
I'm now here for it. One last debate with Kevin Samuels. One
What
last
did
one.
what happened to you?
It's Kevin Samuels, girl.
I mean,
Ooh.
One last debate. Let's do it. Let's put in this work.
Looking like Kevin Samuels. I'm
Go
cool.
for it.
hey. First of all, my condolences to Kevin Samuels here. Rest in peace. Man did a lot in his platform. He did what he had to do. So rest in peace to him and his family. My condolences. But let's get into it.
Brandy got the question. Listen, this is the question of the hour, and the answer is no.
When do you get paid? Before or after?
The girl did not get paid. She did not get paid. She should have been in the old school ways of sir,
Pay up
put
first.
the money on the dresser, sir.
Oh,
Put the money on the dresser before we get anything going. But no, because he was dying.
Yeah.
He was dying, and she was there trying to save his life. That to me is probably the most detrimental thing I could think of to a lady trying to make her money.
So we're talking about this narrative right now that Kevin Samuels had that young lady in there.
It wasn't a narrative. You heard the 911 call?
Yeah, I did a live about it yesterday.
Yeah, she was in there. She was in there, and that's pretty detrimental for her to have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
But it is saying that he lived the life that he was preaching to young other men to do, like to value a woman for her sexual marketplace value. So I can't say the man lied.
she wasn't right neither, huh?
Mm-hmm.
No, she was.
So
Well, I'm not even sure he valued her for her. I think it was for him because his whole purpose was about him. It was never about anybody else. It was always about him. And the more you agreed with what he said, the bigger in his head he think he was more and more important.
Mm-hmm.
He created more stuff. He created more important.
Queen. She said she probably went in there before the police got. I can guarantee she did. Guarantee.
I don't know if she was thinking about that. I think she might have been scared.
Perhaps she was scared, but she's not stupid. So
No. I don't think she was afraid because if she's a nurse, that she's already trained to deal with traumatic experiences like
That
that.
doesn't mean they don't get scared either. They get scared.
First of all,
But no nurse, she's a nurse Betty.
first of all, you can call your nurse if you have an associate's degree
Yep.
or the bachelor's degree. So
Or master's degree.
Yep.
I'm just
Anyone in them.
at the lower echelons. I'm just saying.
Anyone in them. Anyone in them. Qualify her to be a nurse. As long as she understands the assignment.
She understood the assignment of what she was there to do. Okay, she was at this man's apartment for the very first time. She couldn't give people directions as to how to get to the apartment. She didn't know the apartment
Number.
She didn't know the apartment number.
She said it was Kevin freaking Samuels. That should have been good enough.
Right, like as if this guy is really somebody.
He is. Why y'all sit up here capping talking about Kevin Samuels? Everybody know who Kevin Samuels is.
No.
No, everybody does.
Nay. Brandy here is just learning about him. What's the other guy that I read his comment earlier? Mark Williams. He's just learning about him in the aftermath of his death. But he was like, man, it's interesting. It's a lot of controversy. It's heated. On his platform to find out more to get my own perception, but I just feel like as a content creator, this guy was one.
We just going in.
Queen was here. He was here for all of 10 minutes. Okay.
No. Let me talk about that. All right, and I had talked about this on my own platform too, as well. See the overall thing that a lot of people disagree with Kevin Samuels on was his delivery of his message. Which I agree. There were a lot of times where Kevin Samuels will purposely troll people, but he did it because of entertainment. Also, on the flip side, there are other people who will literally call on the show to troll Kevin Samuels, and that'll be the moment where he end up going off of them. Then they'll be the actual viral moments that people will see. They only see that particular moment when he's literally going off on people. You know what I'm saying? That captured that type of viral moment. But yeah, he was. I mean, he was a butthole for real. I'm not gonna take that away. He was. He really was.
I think his ideas and around healthy relationship congruence and vetting healthy relationships, I think they're unrealistic. They're disingenuous. He knew better. That's the reality.
Well, some of it, some of it, I could agree to you. I could agree that it could be quote unquote not people taste, but at the same time there was some other things that Kevin Samuel was saying that I got to be honest, he was real spot on about it. Like when he was talking about the concept about how the way the modern day women are, you know what I'm saying, that he deals with within his space, where they literally will curve a dude like me, right? Because I'm not considered as high value to them. So they'll curve me and they'll go after, you know, the 1 or 2% dudes who are actually making a lot of money. They'll go after them first. They'll go and procreate with these dudes. Then once when these dudes do whatever they do with them, they end up leaving them with a child. The next thing you know, then that's when they finally lower their standards and try to talk to a guy like me and have this high expectation, thinking that a guy like me is supposed to take on everything that they did, their accountability, their children, and everything, which they could have prevented that by just talk to a guy like me.
In
I'm just
that,
saying.
in that is his own self
Right.
inflated importance.
Right. It's not. So there's no validity in that. So
Right.
It is. It's actually
even though you're
truth in
looking
that.
at on the surface, so even though you're looking
It
at on the
sounds
surface
good.
that some of these women and some of these women do, because life is about learning. As you live, you learn.
Agree.
And Kevin Samuels indicated that he had no lessons to learn because he didn't learn anything. He continued to live and he continued to push out this narrative that this is what the reality is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the reality is that's not the vast majority of Black women. It's not even a small. It's not even a fraction of the Black women to call valid. That's the reality.
Now let me clarify something to y'all too. When I'm speaking about the concept about modern day women, and I notice this, a lot of women get triggered on that because they group themselves all together within this narrative, right?
We don't.
No. Understand where I'm coming from. A lot of women they'll group themselves into this narrative. But when I'm using the term modern day women, I'm talking about a certain type of women who resembles this certain type of behavior that I'm talking about.
Right. So
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So
It
yeah,
wouldn't
so
be modern day Black women though. It would be modern day, and even before modern day, hood Black women, because there's a hood mentality that goes along with that narrative. So what that is that because you come from nothing and you are not curated to know anything, that is exactly what you operate in. So when you think about the way that Kevin Samuels is creating this narrative and pushing it out towards other people outside of that group of people as the norm for this particular culture of modern day Black women, because that's a blanket statement for all modern day Black women. It's so inaccurate because such a small fraction of them operate from that particular mindset. But just because a woman ends up with children as a result of whatever having happened to her baby daddy.
because she ended up on dating a dusty dude. That's where it boils down to is that these type of women with these type of behavior, they end up dating these dusty dudes. Just like what Brandy was saying, she's saying that it's a blanket statement, but she's telling modern day men want to split bills and stuff like that. That is a true statement. I agree with you, but that be these dusty dudes that be wanting to do that as well too. You know what I'm saying? So they date these, they go after these type of dusty modern day dudes and stuff, right? And deal with them, right? Then once when the relationship doesn't work out, that's when they quote unquote lower their standards to try to date a average, I guess an average as best guy like me or any other man out there.
You're going based off definitions of average, but that's what I'm saying. You're still going off of his conversation around what average and value.
No. I'm not just going off of his perspective about it. I'm going also off my own personal perspective from my personal experience as well with dealing with the behavior of these type of not only women but these type of men as well too that we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, but so that's the thing. So when you think about high value, the concept of value in and of itself is perceptual, and it's perceptual so much to the fact that you can have a universal guy that on the surface fits those components without actually sitting down having a conversation with him, right? So value is based off of universal contribution. If you think about it, there is no universal contribution in a person making 6 figures. 6 figures is not the end of the world, Jesus. Okay, so there's no universal value in a man having a large penis. A large penis that doesn't even get hard to ejaculate, to procreate, is meaningless. It's purposeless. Literally. These are the facts. You're talking about facts. These are the facts. Okay, there is no high value in having a woman who is a virgin versus a woman who has had sex however many times. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because the virgin who is chaste, she cannot have children, has no value in the grand scheme of things because her divine purpose on this earth is to give life, is to be the person that brings life forward, right?
Agree.
That is
Agree.
their purpose. So if you really think about it in the grand scheme of things, when we think about the idea of value, the social constructs of value are what he is teaching people, and he is teaching one that is not valid. It has no truth. So whether this woman became a single mother by way of her child's father dying in a car accident,
Mm-hmm.
or she became a single mother by way of her child's father dying in his role because he decided to go chase other women, or she became a single mother because the father never stepped up and lived in the role of a father in the beginning. She is still a single mother, and she still is responsible for molding, cultivating, and shaping this life to go out into this world to be fruitful, multiply, and productive in the world that God created. Like, that is a mother's role innately. And so what you have to think about is that if he is not teaching that, as her value and her worth, her ability to be able to do these things, cultivate life and success for this person that she's responsible for, he has no truth in his teachings at all.
Right.
I mean, part a lot of his narrative. He was teaching about basically high value and talking preferably to these set women, right? But the other part in his message is what he literally was teaching that concept. I didn't seen last where he literally was doing that, where he did a whole entire one show talking about the very thing that you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Throughout the whole entire show. So there's truth into what he's saying. The whole point about it is that a lot of people don't agree with the truth based on how the way he presented it, and that's where the issue lies.
But
It's not how he presents it, because the reality is
it's not the truth.
right. If you ask a woman, if you say, okay, you want this high value man, so what's your dress size? How much do you weigh? How tall are you? How many children do you have? If these are the questions that you are trying to gauge, whether or not she is a 8, 10, 1, 3, 2, whatever, on, okay? Everything that you just said that he does stand for, he does not, because that's not the value of a woman. Have you had sex before? Or have you had kids? Okay, so if you haven't been married to that person and you got this child, what makes you think you qualify for marriage?
Right.
So,
and he perceived you as less than.
So
Right.
so also on the flip side, I could take the same thing that y'all just mentioned too, and apply that to the same concept of how the way women will want to approach men too. Women approach men with the same concept as well too.
That's what I'm saying.
The very first thing that a woman look at a man is how the way he's dressed, his shoe size. Then once when they get engaged into the conversation, after they feel a certain level of attraction, they start asking these leading questions, such as what type of job you do. Let me not use modern day women, because I know women get triggered when I say that.
No,
women.
Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the impossibility of modern day women.
Well, yeah. Okay, I use modern day women. What they do is that they'll go into the conversation. They immediately start asking. Nowadays, they'll ask a dude, "How many children do you have? What is your salary? What can you bring to the table? Are you able to provide for me?" All these different things, which, to be truthful about it, is valid questions, because when you ask them questions, what are you doing? You're basically vetting that person to see if that person is a good quality candidate for you to date, which is nothing wrong with that. Likewise, the man, that's what the man doing. The man is doing no other thing different than what the woman is doing. Also, the only difference that a man is looking at her, a man is looking at how the way she look. The man then is looking at what she could bring to him, what value she's going to bring towards him. You know what I'm saying? So it's no difference.
So, first thing, Archer, you have to cam up if you want to come on. We have to see that you are a real person and all that good stuff. Okay, so we'll let you through. You can pull him through to add him to the stream. But so I want to say this. A woman and a man asking those questions or scaling those questions, right? It's very different because if a woman and the questions that you just stated, right? Let's say a woman is asking those questions to vet whether or not this is an appropriate guy for her to submit to, because that's what that boils down to.
That's really what that is.
Yeah, those are questions that give her an indication that this is the content of this man's character, because a man who works has work ethic. If he has work ethic on a job and he is responsible because he has been on a job and a career for X amount of time, it shows us the content of his character. It shows whether or not he's committed and can be committed to a thing, whatever that thing is. So it's not just the questions that we're asking.
Right.
You're only looking at the surface level. For women, we're asking questions that tell us what the capacity of this man may be.
Right.
It's not what he's doing right now.
The quality of his ability to
so his overall quality. That's what y'all were looking at initially.
We're looking for the ideation of the man. Right. So what you are doing in your life tells us what your mindset is. So some men are out here towing the line and selling the drugs on the street. A lot of people are looking like, oh, well, he's in the streets, he's selling dope, blah blah blah. If his mindset is I get money by any means necessary. Excuse me if I don't have the right language, you guys. But if that's his mindset, right? And that's the end for him. That's what he wants for out of life, right? He wants to be living a life where he's toting a gun, where he's on the streets doing illegal activity, knowing that could compromise his ability to be able to protect the family system that he's a part of, right? There's no way that a woman who knows that her job is to do just that, the molding, cultivating, shaping lives prepared for these streets, right? There's no way she's going to want to align herself with that man, because what she sees is that if she does that, she negates that responsibility for her to do just what it is that she was put here to do as a parent. Just as a parent.
But even that narrative that you're talking about, which I agree with, by the way, I agree with it. But however, just like when we say that not all men are like this, the same concept goes with the woman too. Not all women have that perceived mature mentality like that. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, probably before I came over here, I just got to doing a live talking about Ari Fletcher, about her taking her son to this venue or hookah bar, wherever it was, and stuff like that. And I just got to talking about that and stuff, right? And so I was.
Your sound is going in and out.
We lost you.
Is it mine?
No, his.
Your sound's going out.
Sound is out. Can't hear you.
I don't know. Maybe his thing is lagged. And Archer joined a moment ago and said, men can't vet. Let's see.
We can't hear, and he doesn't realize we can't hear him.
I know. I just messaged him. Perhaps he'll see it on the thingy. But so we'll let him get his sound together. Can you hear us? Not really. Okay.
Hold on one moment.
All right. Well, look, we can read lips. It's a gift. So in the meantime, let's read some of the comments. It says, what if it was all in the plan to lure him in and end it all? Hey, you never know. You never know.
People make enemies by what they say.
It was always about him. Facts. This one says facts. Everyone has a positive and a negative side. He only focused on a negative in our black women. I totally agree, honey love.
Yeah.
Brandon said, I'm glad her ass is not black. Oh my God. Oh my God.
He was really.
He was very minded. Oh, I think I'm echoing. Urban therapist. I think it's
Okay, can y'all hear me now?
okay. Yeah, we can hear you. Single-minded and aunts.
That sound like an echo.
No, you sound fine now.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
Obviously had a disdain for women.
Oh God, good. Oh my God.
all right.
Hold on, we're gonna let's finish reading these, and
It
then
was safer to be angry with the woman than the non-existent men in his life. So
I saw that one.
yeah.
So I forgot what I was saying because I was on the road.
Yeah, I saw you was
I
preaching.
know you were. We were like, I hear you.
Because I wondered what y'all was doing. I was thinking y'all was agreeing with me. So like, yeah, it's the mindset.
No,
We're not agreeing with you.
I hear you. So okay, I saw that one.
Oh, my bad. Producer, what's up with it, bro? What's up with it? Salute to you.
Oh,
Because the
man.
modern day man wants to split bills and also stop that. I saw that one too. I think that's interesting.
But now I was talking about I was making a point about the behavior mindset of Aria Fletcher and her baby daddy and stuff. I was saying that they don't have a mature mindset, just what I was saying earlier, and I was pointing that out in my live. You know what I'm saying about that mindset. And so overall, I believe that a lot of part of Kevin Samuel message was geared towards, women like her who have that type of mentality.
I don't think so. When you think about the women that he's interviewed on his channel, even the women that did not present with that narrative, he still devoured them and used that as an opportunity to degrade Black women. Like literally, I watched him and did the review of the show that he talked to the woman where her husband had died and she was a single mother of 2 kids. And
yeah, I seen that show.
Yeah. And his words to her is that she still didn't qualify for a high value man because at the end of the day, she still would have to, be the one that provided for her children. Why would a man, in what world would a man be okay with stepping into the role of father for her 2 kids that now don't have a father?
Wow.
That's not a man's job to step in and father somebody else's children when clearly somebody else has stepped in and fathered your child.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, he honestly do have some validity in that. It's not. Let me put it to you this way: it's not the step parent obligation to be a father to their children unless he or she chooses to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
It is a
I'm just saying it in a general. I'm just saying it in a general perspective. That is not my personal belief, but I'm just saying it in a generalization.
But it is in a general perspective. When a man,
because y'all know where I stand on this, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying in a general sense.
Even from a legal standpoint, from a general sense, when a man marries a woman, he is legally responsible for the children of their house. He is legally responsible for the children.
See, I didn't say legally.
No, I'm just saying. And
I know legally he is because he's considered as a guardian.
Responsible.
Yeah, he should.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with it. Legally, he is, but obligated.
It is.
Listen to me. Obligated. It is a choice, regardless if it's legal or not. It is a choice for that person to want to parent their child or not.
Let me say something. Even if you don't want to be the daddy, you will go your ass to jail if you choose not to provide for that child, and you're in the house with that child, and child services come out there.
So my question is, if you like this woman who's got kids, you be with her, and the kids are at the side. It's like you're not responsible for them. But you're responsible for her.
According to just the generalization of it, then they believe no, they're not responsible because it's not their child.
It is.
But it is.
It's not their child. They're legally tethered to them.
When I met my husband,
not the responsibility.
Look, when I met my husband, conversation was, I come with 2 kids.
Yeah, it's a
I'm a
package.
package deal. Is that what you're looking for? Are you willing to step in and be the man who helped me raise these boys? If you're not, then that's not what I'm looking for.
And Miss Suzanne, and this is another point that Kevin Samuels was bringing to the conversation. Like a lot of women, they mentioned, well, it's a package deal and stuff, right? He was mentioning on the fact that, okay, well, if y'all saying that this is a package deal, why is it fair that this is a package deal? But however, these same set of women originally, right, set up here and chose to procreate with these old dusty dudes, right? Chose to procreate with them, didn't work out. And now they got this mentality thinking that they're entitled now to something better. But instead of them originally going for a person who they know is on their level and know that they fit to be a father, they decide to do the latter. And now they go back, they go back, right, and say, hey, you, the guy who I want to curve or whatever stuff, right? If you want to be with me now, since I curved you first, but you want to be with me now, it's a package deal. You got to not only deal with me, but you got to deal with my child too. So that would make the dude feel some type of way, like, man, what? Like,
well, really? My husband also he's got a daughter. So he comes with a child as well.
I am the official urban therapist.
Hello, ladies. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, what's up with it, bro?
But my point is, you have to, when you in a relationship, you have to be open.
Yeah,
you have to be able to share, and you have to be vulnerable, and you have to have transparency. I've got 2 kids.
BJ going in on you. Tell him, BJ. What's wrong with him talking this nonsense?
No, I'm just speaking. I'm speaking from both perspectives, y'all. I'm speaking from how the way the other people are perceiving the situation. And I also have my own personal perspective about it too.
That's part of the problem.
I'd like to jump in here right quick.
Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm trying my best not to be rude. Does anybody know what the women who are calling into Kevin Samuels' show wanted themselves?
Some of them, the ones that I've viewed, the ones that I have reviewed on this platform, yes, because we've reviewed what it is that this woman was looking for,
validation,
and and most of the time it was around validation. Father for the young lady that we just talked about, whose baby daddy died in combat, actually, and she had 2 children left from their being married, and now the kids were, I think, 9 and 7 and 9, whatever. That's what she wanted. She wanted a man that would take care of her and step into the role of father for her kids, and who believed that, of course, she was a package deal. That's what
didn't say anything. Kevin Samuels' show. And I've talked to Kevin many times before he blew up. He wasn't. I mean, when he first entered the manosphere, he came into the space trying to get a lot of the guys there to kind of dress better. Didn't go well. But when I did after he blew up, I really didn't pay much attention to content. But when I did watch his shows, and from what I did see about it, most of the women called in. Where he had the disagreement with most of the women is when they start putting a financial
price ticket around it.
Yeah, price ticket on the guys they wanted, and saying they will not settle for anything less than the guy who has this set amount of money. And most of the outrage came when he told them they can't get that.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that outrage.
In these scenarios that I've reviewed and validated on this channel, that's not the case. But I do see that happen oftentimes. And the problem is what a woman sees as a high value man, and we talked about this a bit in this channel, right? It may not be the same thing that Kevin Samuels sees as high value man. And what people in general, especially in modern day dating, sees as high value right now on the surface may not be what actually is high value, because for one, it's perceptual to a certain extent. A person's value over the course of a lifespan should be for them to leave a lasting imprint that is positive, a positive contribution to the world that they are a part of. And as I said before, there are a lot of things that Kevin Samuels has said that I slightly agreed with.
No, she agree with it. Don't cap. You agree with it.
I slightly agree, but that's just because he was just speaking facts about historically the way that relationships in the Black community have declined over time because of the religiosity that took seat and took light and fire after the women's rights movement. And that's just something that we've lived through. We know that, right? So in the aftermath of that, what do you now say? So you can say that these are the things that happen in our Black homes. You can say that this led to the degradation of the Black family. You can say those things, right? But what you're not going to say is push an agenda that repeats history and causes a further divide. And the thing is, if you're doing that, then and you're going against God's law, because that's what it is. It's a universal construct of God, the creator, in every religion, that woman was created for the procreation of man, which God first did himself. So if you're now pushing and shaming that very same sentiment after so long, especially you're saying all these things about these women and saying, oh, well, now we can justify and say this causes women to have this type of health issue. Even if you have seen a ton of women have that health issue, you are not a doctor. I am a doctor. And what I would say is that the risk of a person is not a single factor for the risk of heart attack. He's dead. From a
heart attack can be caused by stress, and I hate to say this. I hate to say this, and ladies, please don't boo me off the panel, but there's nothing more stressful than dealing with a woman. And when you're dealing with millions of them, that'll kill you. He was dealing with millions of them. That's a stressful. Did you not see his beard get gray and gray? I knew the man. I knew the man before he blew up. I knew him back in 2008 was the first time I had a conversation with Kevin Samuels on a panel, BGS's panel. Me, him, Cerilli, and a whole bunch of people. We had a whole long conversation. That man had a full black beard.
hey, bro.
But he was.
He looked like Obama.
Yeah, Obama. I was about ready to say that before he went to presidency in Annapolis. Y'all niggas stretched the Obama all the way out.
Obama had to deal with a ton of women, a ton of negative issues. I served President Obama. So issues that he had to deal with, I can tell you, were way, way more intense than what he dealt with in living and older.
Of course.
And older and healthy. So what's that? The negative energy that it takes for you to continue to put people down, that piece causes internal stress, because the reality is underneath that facade that you guys saw is his reality and his incongruences and his insecurities. From a psychotherapeutic standpoint and a medical doctor standpoint, those are the things that contribute to stress, high stress, heart attack, strokes.
I don't know. I mean, as a guy with 3 kids, I'll tell you, women do too. I'm so sorry.
I mean,
3 kids, stress, little kids.
It's not just, it's not just the fact that, for me, it's not just the fact that he was a negative person pushing this negative agenda. It's also the fact that he, in some way, really believed that this was the work that he was doing was right.
But I agree. Let me say this right quick. I agree with the work he was doing because, like you said, there are different types of value, and you really place value on things you find important. Now, you have to remember who modern day, we're not talking about women like you two. We're talking about young modern day women in the club, listening to Cardi B, Get the Bag. Who are they calling for dating advice? They're not going to their pastor. They're not going to to somebody who's spiritual. They're going to a man who presents himself as a businessman, as a man with money. And they're going to this with the backdrop of a culture of women who listen to music about getting the bag from money. Getting the bag from men. Getting as much money off of men as you can. So we're talking about a different culture of women nowadays who value different things. Back in the day, my mother's generation, my grandmother's generation, a man's character, his ability to be a father, his ability to provide was the most important thing. Right now, what most women value is how much you're going to get off the will when he dies. That's what these women value nowadays, and it reflects in who they're calling for advice. And when Kevin tells them, "Look, you're not that girl," if that man who has that big will or has all that money, Kobe Bryant or whatever, he gonna pick a girl. Sorry, it's not gonna be you for this and this and that reason. And when he said that, the whole world gasped. Never mind that these women just wanted a man for the money. They say nothing about character. They didn't say nothing about that. There might have been exceptions, but the majority of them, that's why the whole high value came to and got tied to money and not character. That's why he tied it to that.
Because to a certain extent, money and character have some level of an alignment. So if you think about, well, not necessarily money, but wealth, so financial positioning. If a man has the wherewithal to stabilize his finances, he has the wherewithal to provide for the family. Historically, that's always been a factor. Historically, that your grandparents, my grandparents and great-grandparents, or even further back, 1920s, 1900s, the 1700s, it has always been down to a man's financial stability, because his financial stability says that he's able to provide for his family, which has always been an innate quality that a man is supposed to bring forth into a relationship, because a woman is supposed to bring the reproductive qualities, the continuation of her legacy, the value of her guidance, because underneath her father and her mother, she learned things that this man would not have learned because he was too busy supposed to be learning how to protect and provide for his family. So if you understand the basic constructs of human behavior and social alignment in those types of relationships, if a woman is looking for value in a man's finances, that can tell her a lot about a man. However, the other components, how do you get your money? What do you do for a living? What are your belief systems? These are the conversations that happen at that table in the aftermath. And even though you think these modern day women are not looking for those qualities in the content of a man's character, trust me, they are.
Yeah.
As a psychotherapist, I sit with those same conversations.
Yes.
Just because they're in the club, shaking their butt, trying to get the bag, listening to Cardi B and all that stuff, underneath all of that, they really want genuine connectivity, and they don't want to be toyed around with. Even though on the surface they present in that way, the same way that these men present with this pseudo-masculinity. You know,
I mean, I understand that, but at the same time, Kevin did mention a few times, why, look, there's only a certain amount of men in America who makes over $100,000. What's wrong with the man that makes $40,000? He might have all the characteristics you just said. $40,000 between a man and a woman can provide for a family. I'm making 40, she's making 40, we got 80.
It depends on where they are.
It depends that too, but it
depends on where they are. And right now, in inflation, no.
Well, I guess in inflation, then most people are screwed, because let's get one thing straight: Black men are not the only group of men who's not making $100,000. Like 76% of all Americans make under $50,000. Well, no, I think it was 47% and 70%. I'm not going to go on that.
So when you're looking at
I'm not going to
reported income. Most income in the Black community is underreported.
Right. That too. So if women, like, it just boggles my mind that we're mad because that we as a community are mad because a man had the gall to get up there and tell women that not all of you can have the small percentage of men with all the money.
So that's not what we're mad at. About that. So what is upsetting is that you degrade the value of a woman and you attribute her value to her sexual marketplace value. That the objectification of women is the what makes that.
Well, I mean, but that's the same thing with men, because if me not having $100,000 or me having it increases or deflates my value, that's objectification. That's my sexual market value.
It's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No.
So if I were,
that's your ability. That's you demonstrating your ability to take care of a potential family.
Having sex and having children several times, or whatever the case may be, doesn't take away from her ability to be able to provide that man with a legacy. However, a man who is not able to provide, who has no work ethic, who does not want to go to work, who doesn't want better than what he is currently doing, even if he is making whatever, 40,000, 50,000, whatever it is he's making. if he does not want more, the previous Kevin Samuels prior to YouTube, those tax records, that man, right, with no direction, that the thing that got him divorced in the beginning, these are the things that women are running away from, because that says that that man has no direction. He has no plan. A man's ability to provide has a lot to do with whether or not that woman can submit to him appropriately. A man's ability to learn to submit to his higher power, the authority of God, the constructs of religion and spirituality, says that he is in alignment with best practices to lead that system appropriately. These are things that women are looking for. Even if they're not religious, they're looking for the quality of a man, not a male, not a person born with a penis. It's a million of them out there. So it's the quality of a man. So that is what women are looking for, regardless of how ratchet you might see them, because that is only a part of her process. It's not where she's going to end up. Unlike Kevin Samuels, he ended up in the same way that he told all these women they'd end up. He said they die alone. Who died alone?
Well, I mean, come on now. I mean, most black men die early. My father died.
No, it's not about early. It's about he died alone. He was unmarried. He was
unmarried. The thing about him though is that as a man, you're not really afraid to die alone. He was talking to the women. Yeah, can I finish?
Wait, let me say this. Even though you said that, there's an old saying back in the hood that says you ain't got to be afraid to get your ass whooped. So the thing is, whether he was afraid to die alone doesn't matter. Somebody has to bury him. His followers aren't going to do that. The same women that he degraded are responsible for that. He has a daughter that is left and survived by a mother, not a wife. That same mother that his platform literally degraded. Out of his own mouth on that same platform, degraded. I'm the person that did the review of that video. He degraded that same mother and those aunts of his that he was raised with.
By pointing out mistakes that they made is degrading them?
It's not mistakes that they made. It's him nailing them to the cross for a lack of consideration of what the man's worth was according to Kevin Samuels.
Well, let me ask you a question right quick, because we all agree to these things that's intrinsic about a man and makes a man valuable as far as his work ethic, his drive, where he's gonna go, his character.
Universal value.
Yeah, universal value. And a man who doesn't have those things, a man who's derelict in those things, does he have less value than a man who is doing what he needs to do when it comes to those certain situations?
Of course, he has less value. That means he has more growing to do. And that means that he's not yet ready to attribute himself to a marriage, because he wants to be healthy enough to not struggle if he is going to acquire a wife.
Correct. Okay, I agree with you there. We kind of we're on the same page there. Mm-hmm. Is there anything when it comes to women that would decrease their value in any type of way if they're not reaching a certain standard? Is there any barrier to womanhood that a woman has to reach before she is ready to become a wife? Or is that just something attributed to men?
Of course. Women have to become emotionally mature enough to be a man's his compass, his guide, his construct, the provider. These are things that women have to be to a man. A man can't lead without a woman to accurately guide him behind the scenes. Although you guys think there is so much that Obama did and so much direction that I was there. I was there for the conversations. So I know what it takes for a good man to lead and under the circumstances of high pressure, a lot of hostility, a lot of people who are, people who are in your face, they're smiling in your face, and on the other side, they're waiting for you to fail. And you see it, your wife see it, your children see it. The pressure that is under a black man, just for his skin being black, when he's in a position of high authority, the pressures are great. But he gets his motivation from that woman that is at his side. Mm-hmm. She can't be that woman at his side unless she's taken a lesson from her system. Mm-hmm. And sometimes her exposures and experiences. So she does have to get to a place to where she is able to lead and guide the constructs of her household, her man, her provider accurately. It's a process.
That's what woman teaches woman.
Right. So boys and girls don't get married. Adults do.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think my biggest thing, what I took from Kevin Samuels is three things. And three things he was saying that women really had a problem with. One was men typically don't want a woman that comes with kids. Number one, they don't want a bad attitude. Number two, and number three, they don't want you to be extremely out of shape. And I don't understand why those three things cause so much outrage, like as if men cannot have those type of standards. Because me personally, I would never date a woman with kids. I would never date an out of shape woman. And I would never date a woman who has an extremely bad attitude.
So your preferences are not the problem, right? Kevin Samuel's preferences are not the problem.
And what is the problem?
Expect that is a universal expectation. Or the value of a woman is the problem, because the one true guide that everybody follows, regardless of what religion that is, that guides and constructs the value of a man and a woman, the foundation of spirituality and humanity, that doesn't make reference to those things. It does make reference to the fact that a woman is supposed to be the giver of life. It does make reference to the fact that a man is supposed to be a protector and a provider. However, do you see those things? You see, that's the logic behind it all.
I see what you're saying, but at the same time, you said you were a doctor. Is that what you said?
Of course.
Of course. Okay, right. And we all know when it comes to those things I just mentioned, health is a big thing when it comes to the Black community. We all know Black women, middle age, lead the nation in diabetes. We all know Black women have the most stillborn children as related to their weight. And some of that's mistreatment in the hospitals as well, but mainly their weight too. I mean, we know these things as far as
that's perpetuated by the media,
right?
That way, Black women don't have a lot of stillborns. There's not a lot of
so a lot of and having as compared to another
compared to who?
Yeah, those are two totally separate components. The race of a woman does not dictate, in this day and age, does not dictate whether or not a woman has a stillborn.
Right, I know, but
and those numbers are very
the weight is a contributing factor to whether or not a child's stillborn. Your eating habits are a contributing factor to that. Your way you take care of yourself is a contributing factor to whether you have a healthy pregnancy.
Yes, the way you take care of yourself, yes. Weight in and of itself, no. High-risk pregnancies are experienced by women who are thin, women who are large, women who are old, women who are young.
Correct.
Because that's based off of activity level, sometimes stress level, sometimes it's a ton of things that it's based off of. But there is no way that we can guarantee, or even we can, go ahead and say, hey, this is the key to having a healthy pregnancy where a baby will be born alive and well. There's no way for us to do that. No way. Because there are too many other factors that contribute to a person having a healthy pregnancy. And healthy pregnancy looks.
I get what you're saying. That things are deeper than just the money, the physical, the attitude, everything spiritual. But at a certain point, we have to realize that most of us are out of the prime dating market. Like, we're talking about the younger generation and stuff they're dealing with. We have to stop being so selfish where all these companies come back to me.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up. Your sound is breaking up.
Well, I'm still flabbergasted on the fact that y'all believe 40 to 50,000 isn't enough for y'all. That's where I'm stuck at.
Well, it's not that. I think that right now, especially with, so let me say this. We're in inflation. 40 or 50,000 isn't enough for anything. It's not enough for anything.
You do realize that the federal government is raising the COLA value up as well to compensate that, right?
No.
Yes, they are.
No. So I have several clients reporting financial distress. Several people that I know have been displaced. Several clients have been, as a therapist who works with the population of people that are experiencing the incongruences in what we are saying that we are putting out there as minimum wage, et cetera, versus the realities. So people are really struggling financially. They really are.
So let me bring this up too. So you're saying that 40 or 50,000 isn't sustainable enough for two people with that type of income, right? That's what you're saying, right? So if that be the case, there, what would be more suitable? What would be a suitable range salary for a person to
Right now,
live comfortably?
so right now, the minimum for people to live comfortably is about 65 to 70,000 a year. Energy costs have gone up. Why do you think they're pushing more federal government assistance? Why do you think they're pushing all of these stimulus package plans and things like that? Like, energy costs have gone up, skyrocketed. People are also having to spend more on food costs. People are also spending more on
transportation,
on their right, and gas as well. All of these things there is no way.
But see, that's the overall point that I'm making, is that if we're based on being in a relationship based on what type of income both people could bring to the table, then it's not going to even be beneficial for them to be in that relationship, especially if that woman is looking for a man that's making at least about 65 or 70,000, which in reality, no one is making that salary right now. You know what I'm saying? Well, just like I say, y'all saying this on inflation that's going on around right now. I'm telling y'all about the cola as well too. Then on top of that, there are many people who are either underemployed, or they are overqualified due to their degree of experience, and they still can't make that substantial amount of income. So if we're basing it on that, then you might as well say none of us don't need to be in a relationship.
Capacity. So I did earlier saying this stuff when I talked about that. A person's capacity is different from where they are right now. They may be doing this right now, but your ideation around what it is you're going to do in life, where you're going in your life, is what directs whether or not that woman wants to lie with you. And it doesn't mean that she does not have to work at all. It may mean that until you find yourself stable, both of us are working to achieve what your overall goal is. Realistic, it's attainable, and this is something that you're passionate about. Seeing a man who is who has stable employment tells a woman that that man has a sense of urgency about his responsibility in life as a citizen in general. So it's not just about what he's currently making. It's about the capacity. A woman is responsible for bringing out a man into his full capacity.
But that's the point that I'm debating you about, is that if you're looking for a man overall character, right? And this dude, let's say that he's making 50,000 a year, and he enjoyed the job that he's doing, right? He's comfortable with that. He's cool with that. Even though the living situation is what it is, he's comfortable with that. But however, he have a woman that's in a period of time, now you need to do better than that. She started telling that, then it comes to the point where she started nagging him about that. Well, you need to make better than that. You need to make better than that. You need to get a second job. You need to get 2 jobs. You need to get 3 jobs. You need to do this. You need to be a man. What's ultimately going to happen is that it's going to cause a high level of stress for that man to basically give something that this woman want, right, instead of her being content. Then another thing too, and I got to point this out too, another thing too, and it's based on people and also the minority community. All of us live beyond our means. All of us do that. So there are many of us right now, we're living in homes that work on $300,000 or more, knowing good and well that we're living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, knowing good and well we're living in inflation. But however, at the same time, you want to try to push that man or push that woman to do more. As you can see, they want to push them to do more and more and more. Where would it come to the point where they say, you know what, we're good. We could do certain things to where we could be good. If it takes for us cutting certain things down so we could live substantially, then let's do that instead of trying to make this man or make this woman elevate to something that's at the end of the day ain't even worth it.
You're talking about things that happen after the relationship has already been established, and I'm talking about things that should happen in the vetting stages.
Oh, you're talking about prior? Okay.
So a woman should never toe the line and accept and be with a man that she feels is beneath what she aspires to attain in life. If that man is comfortable making that $40,000 or $50,000, I can tell you right now, he's definitely not going to get a woman with extreme high value that has high goals and arches, for life.
So I got call you cap on it. I got call cap on that. That's
Right.
exactly the same thing what Kevin Samuels was saying, right?
Done.
Also, it's a lower level, right?
I'm not done. I'm not done.
Go ahead.
Essentially, a woman's job is to be able to push and motivate her man to achieve his greatness, his capacity, and be autonomous in that. So if she sees that this is his capacity, this is an intelligent man, he has, knowledge about this thing, and she knows she has knowledge and insights about connections, and she can put him into these places. She can put him in contact with these people. Connectivity. We are collections of energy. Nobody walks into people's lives for no reason. Sometimes that woman that you see, that woman that you think is pushing you to be great beyond your means, right, is that woman who has the means and the ability, the capability to get you there. But the thing is, your mindset, if you're not open, if you're not receptive to that, you can never reach that capacity, even though it resides within you. And everybody else sees it but you, because you have to know your worth. So it's not about just what's on the surface. When we're talking about the how much he's making, the what he's doing, there is no level of comfort in life. That's not what life is about. Life is about achieving new heights every single day, growing, maturing with every experience. But if you won't allow yourself to have them, then there is no way that you can truly live. Because essentially, that is what we see in Kevin Samuels. He's dead. That's why.
Then let's go with that concept as well too, and we just instead of this being a couple, it's actually just a single man or a single woman. You know what I'm saying? To be fair with it. All right. So same scenario. This person has reached to a level of evolution where they are comfortable with where they at. They are happy with where they at. Then here comes another man or woman pushing them to reach another level that they don't even want to go. Not because they're lazy or anything like that. It's because, hey, I done lived my whole entire life pushing to where I'm at right now, and I'm comfortable where I'm at. I don't see the need for me to go higher because you want me to. Because if you're doing that because of that, it becomes disingenuous because that's something that you're trying to achieve. In other words, it's almost as though you trying to push your narrative on me of something that you should have did with yourself personally, and you're trying to project that on me. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
I agree. I feel like that's exactly what Kevin Samuels is doing. But what I'm saying is,
but likewise,
not a person can't come and push you to do anything, right? They can motivate.
They could. There's like you
because they see your capacity, not for them, but it's for you. So when you become that great person, it's not about that person who is pushing you or motivating you or creating space for you to grow into this new space. It's not even about them. It's about you and what they see in you. I talk to people every single day when I do motivational speeches, even as a therapist. What we are doing is we're teaching people how to access the inner components of themselves that bring out their capacity to live the life that they desire to live, if it's attainable. Right? We can help them to find whether or not they have the wherewithal and the skill set needed for them to position themselves in those spaces where they aspire to be. And that's what our job is, essentially. Right? So it's not about us pushing them to do that. It's just about us helping them discover that. So a person journeying you along your line, joining you in your journey of living life, right? And them having insight as to what they see that you don't see because you're in the dance doesn't mean that they're trying to have you do that for them.
Right.
It has nothing to do with them.
Now, I got to disagree. I got to disagree with you on that one, Doctor, because there is the same narrative that women do that towards men, and also on your platform. And you got me doing shows about this now for real. On your platform, did you not mention to me that women are master manipulators? Did you not mention that to me?
Women are.
We are, absolutely. And I totally agree with that. I did shows on this. So I started researching, did shows on it. You inspired me. but however, there are women that do manipulate men to do that. Just like I stated earlier, there are these certain type of men where they have achieved to them They had achieved the highest level of evolution that they could possibly get, and they're content where they at. They feel that they don't need to be pushed further than where they need to go. You know what I'm saying? But here come this other woman who's been manipulative, right? Start trying to manipulate and try to push this dude to do something even more that he don't want to do. Hence,
because maybe she see his potential.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Because you're never a stagnant.
Right.
As long as you're alive, you're not stagnant.
Yeah, because
that's what I'm saying. Like, even when she sees potential, she should see that he's already at his highest level of evolution.
Does,
instead of trying to manipulate him to do something even further.
Sometimes
who determines he's at his highest?
To you. So if God sends a person your way, what are you going to do? Slap God in the face and say, no, I don't want to do this. I'm comfortable right here. I'm going down this hill. Mm-hmm. That's exactly that's what happens.
I mean, what's wrong with saying no when you're where you at?
So having insight into a thing, right, and being pushed into learning that this is a thing that resides within you, and not having insight or being blinded by your own whatever it is that you have going in your life that creates this space of comfort for you. Those are two separate components. In life, you are supposed to be living. If you're not living, if you're not learning, you can't learn if you're still in the same place. Literally, that means that you are wasting space. You are supposed to be here for a purpose.
That's not. Well, once again, Doc. Once again, you're capping on that. For the simple fact, based on my scenario, right? This dude is at his highest level of his potential. He is at his highest level of evolution. Therefore, even if you want to put spirituality into this stuff, right? God, him or she knows that his child is at his highest level potential. So God himself is not going to push him even further because he is there. So when it comes to a person trying to do that, right? When it comes to another person to do that, the reason why they're doing it is not to try to push this dude, because they should recognize that he's already there. They doing it for their own personal, selfish evolution.
Yeah, perhaps on the surface, but like I said, nobody comes to anybody's life because they're in control. It only happens because God is in control. And so when you think that you are finished in this life, if God has you here,
I'm not saying that you're finished with living life. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it does. When you feel like you are at your peak of life, if you feel like you have gotten to the point to where you are done and you can't grow anymore, life is over. That is it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about, you don't live your life to live your life the fullest. You done did everything, seen everything, did whatever stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this person being at his highest level of he or she potential. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I get it.
At some point in time, you are going to reach your highest level or your God-given potential.
You will.
Once when you get to that level, then that's it. Then that's when you're sitting in a space where, hey, I'm good, I'm comfortable, I know who I am, I know where I'm at. So it doesn't require for someone to try to push me even further where I'm at, because it becomes disingenuous. That's the argument that I'm making with that.
You're still looking at the surface stuff. The surface stuff. It doesn't matter what another person's intentions are.
It's what it is.
What control. God is the element of control in all of our lives. So if you really had reached your potential, you would be dead. You're only here as you serve his purpose, not yours. So yes, you may have reached your self-determined path. You may have you may have reached your peak according to you, but that doesn't mean that God is done with you. So when other people come into your life and they make you uncomfortable, it's because life was never supposed to be comfortable and complacent in the first beginning. You have a purpose. Your divine purpose may not be known by you during your time on this earth until those last moments of life. That's when you come into a congruent place where you understand, I have done what it is that I was intended to.
Right.
I was intended for. And that's the thing. You see people become this whole self-identified autonomous component, but you don't know what God has placed you to do. That's why that prayer that so many old women go to all the time, God, allow me to be used in the way that you see fit. Why do you think they say that? Because they know that they are not the orchestrators and the leaders of their life. They are not. Even the things that you think you do intentionally, right?
Mm-hmm.
None of those things are your own things. All of those things, you're being placed in the places where you're placed for a reason. There is nothing on this earth that's done by us as human beings that is our work.
Right.
Nothing.
And if you are practicing spiritual principles, you begin to think about, why did he put these people in my life?
Yeah.
Because they are adding some value to your life. You are never at that place where I'm at this plateau and this is it, and life is good.
Yeah, everybody adds value. Even
that's not growth. Growth doesn't work that way.
But everything that y'all saying, absolutely, I agree with what y'all talking about. But yet and still, also y'all not understanding my perspective where I'm coming from. I'm still stuck on this perspective about a woman coming into this man life. This man has already achieved a certain level of income, value that he is good at. He's comfortable at. He's good with that. That's the perspective I'm talking about. If he's at that point and he's comfortable there, he's feeling good about that, and he feel that he don't need to achieve even further value because he's good. That's what I'm talking about. That's all I'm saying. Here come this woman saying, listen, here come this woman saying, oh, you're making $80,000 a year? Hell, you need to be making $100,000 a year. No, I'm comfortable with making $80,000 a year. Why do you think I need to make $100,000 a year? Oh, because I feel that we need to get instead of you having a one mansion, I feel like we need to get a two mansion so we can sustain for our family. Because the cola value is going up and stuff. So we need to get a better house, we need to get a better thing, stuff like that. And this dude like, no, we cool with where we at. I got this. I got a home. This home is paid off. I got everything that we need right here, and my salaries is sustainable enough
he should have the final say.
To evolve further from that.
So he should have the final say after he submits to his higher authority for guidance as to how that looks. So when he goes and he prays about it, if God gives him the answer that you are positioned where I want you to be positioned, because obviously he has a different purpose if you're still living, that means that he stays his course. If that woman stays, then good. If she goes, then good. Either way, it is it literally is in the plan. Because the thing is, and that's what I'm trying to get you to understand, I get that piece, right?
No, trust me. I understand y'all perspective. Trust me, I do. I get it. I understand it. I know exactly where y'all come from.
He can make decisions about whether that person needs to continue to be in his life.
There you go.
He's in a place where he's okay, and she is disrupting that. He can make the decision that this does no longer fits what my life looks like,
and she no longer adds value to you.
So as a result,
that's what I wanted y'all to see.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? That was the whole point about that whole scenario there. I wanted y'all to see from that perspective.
But
we're there now.
So we got that part. That's never been the issue. It's just about people have to understand that everybody has the potential to add value, but just like people have the potential to add value, we have the same potential to take away from the life force of a person. And so when we think about the job that Kevin Samuels has done on his platform, for me, what I see is that this man has convinced a very lost generation of young people, a very lost generation of the Black community to divest from one another. He's caused more separation and division amongst young women and men in our community than the voting laws in America. When they decided not to give the woman voting rights and gave the Black man voting rights. All right. So for me,
are you throwing shade?
I'm just saying. But my thing is this. I think that we have to be careful and tread lightly when we are doing work that messes with the orchestration of God's work. Because for me, I don't want to get in the way of no God, no Odin, no Allah, none of them. I don't want to get in the way of God's work at all. I want to raise insight, draw people into understanding things that are outside of them and outside of their understanding. I want to draw people's attention. I want to have people going and having the difficult conversation. These are the things I want to do. I don't want to upset your spirit. I don't want to leave you in a disarray. I don't want to leave an impact that's a negative one upon you, because that's not my intention in this life. It never has been. It's about positive energy. If I cannot leave you in a better way than I found you, I
and let you
go
go.
in this place at all. And so I will leave. So it's about understanding that there is only value if we allow it to be from those people that we allow value to be attributed to us. So even Kevin, when I say Kevin Samuel still, he does have a value. He does. Kevin Samuel spoke things that broke people, broke the spirit of people, that sent people in a disarray emotionally, in every single way. I've personally assessed women who were suicidal as a result of watching continuous content and being exposed to the negative ideation of all of his followers. I have interviewed those women personally, and some of those women have attempted to take their lives because they saw that they had no worth. And let me tell you, some people are impressionable. That is their stuff, but it's not just their stuff. It's our stuff too. They are representative of us, and we are representative of them. And so at the end of the day, we are a collective society of people that have got to have a higher level of consciousness of the accountability that we should have to one another, the respect that we should have towards one another, because we're not all meant to look the same. We're not all meant to walk the same.
Things the same.
Yeah, let me ask you this question. I know you're on your final thoughts too, but you trigger me.
And that's what's happening.
In a good way. That's her being a master manipulator. But now, I'm curious though. I'm curious. Did Kevin Samuel content affect either one of y'all negatively? Will it overall affect your overall well-being of your life?
Not me, because I was able to see where I was able to stand outside and watch and have an understanding of what he presented was really about him and the stuff he was struggling with. I saw that. As a therapist, I'm able to pick that up. So I knew, and I've looked at some of his stuff. I've just kept myself out of it. Saw him as having some significant trauma in addition to other stuff. And I think people got attached to that. People who experienced some of the not feeling good, not thinking okay, not having a really good life, got attached to that. Their trauma got attached to his stuff. But this is how he lived, because he needed to see himself much bigger than how he really is. Much more, because I think he saw himself as really inadequate. My thought, really inadequate. And had to put people down in order to look good.
But it
didn't affect me. I never felt affected by the things he said, because I think I was able to understand on some level what's going on for this man without knowing his life, without knowing his history.
Got you, and noted too. All right. The reason why I asked that question is because let me shift it to me. We're gonna leave Kevin Samuels alone. At least for 5 seconds. No, I don't care about your opinion right now. but at least for 5 seconds, we're gonna leave Kevin Samuels alone.
I didn't answer. I think I was affected indirectly by Kevin Samuels' content, because before I even knew him or listened to his content, I was the person assessing, as a crisis therapist, these young ladies who were out on the ledge. So I have to be out there putting my life on the line to save those lives. And when people are in those very vulnerable states of being, and not just young ladies, young men too, when people are out there in that vulnerable state of being, and you're seeing that somebody who is behind a fucking computer screen
affecting your life
has had so much of an impact on this person, and you see that this generation of people are so influenced by just social media content by itself. It's literally mind-blowing. I just even though I could understand their sentiment, because I'm sitting there and I'm assessing, I'm figuring out, okay, this is why he brings up this for them, right? You never know who you're going to trigger with your negative ideation. If you can't push positivity out there in this world, don't create a huge cult of people following you that not only bullies people on social media, but attacks people in real life, that targets people in real life. Like, these are the things I don't think that people, when I say about, responsible content creation and things like that, I am serious about that. We have to understand our impact on the other people that are connected to us in this grand system of life. So I am an interconnected person, and I don't believe that I just sacrifice, my sleep, my time with my family, right? So that I can go out and save lives and make people see, that there is an alternative to taking your life, just so I can say I'm not affected by their stories or their experiences and stuff like that. Because for me, it does impact me, because I have daughters that age. And for me, I became curious, and I didn't even know the guy's name. They would say a content creator. Creator. Yeah. And then in their chart, when I would read their workups from Triage, it would be Kevin Samuels. And this is after I started covering this guy. I'm like, dang, that's the same guy. Huh. Oh, you see what I'm saying? And so for me, it's the fact that you are pushing this very negative message out there and harming the self-congruence of these young women and young men out here. And not only that, you're disconnecting them from one another intentionally to serve your own agenda because you were hurt by someone. And you have, at your age, you should know better. Because you should know better. At this, you know that God gives you 70 years. If you're lucky, if you're doing his work, if you're lucky. Right?
You should have known better.
And grace is beyond that. And you're over your 50s and you've had a hard life and you've finally done something that makes you feel more congruent about the life that you now lead, right? For me, it's all of that. And for me, it's about us understanding that there is value in every single person that walks this earth, even if you don't see their value or recognize their worth or their value. It doesn't mean that they have zero value. So it's okay for us to say, for me, that person wouldn't. For me, that person wouldn't. It'd be valuable. But for me as a human being, there is no one who can't contribute to my life's worth and knowledge.
But me.
Absolutely. Now, like I say, the reason why I was asking that question, because through my experience as being a content creator, I learned a lot. I learned a whole lot. One truth that I had learned is that regardless if I put out truth that is positive or truth that is negative, one thing that I know for certain is that people are going to perceive my content however way they're going to perceive it. They could take it as positive or they could take it negative. And I've seen it happen. I put out positive content, people will perceive it as negative. I put out negative content, people will perceive it as positive. But at the end of the day, it's based on that person's perception of receiving the information. Now, they have a choice. They have a choice to either allow that thing that I put out to affect their life positively or negatively. But at the end of the day, the only thing that I'm held accountable for is just the content that I put out, period. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm not held accountable for this person's overall decision if my content put them in a negative space or not. That has nothing to do with me. Likewise, the same thing with Kevin Samuels. You know what I'm saying? He's not held accountable for these people who are choosing to allow his content to put them into a negative space. That is a choice that they made to do it.
Well,
that was their choice if they did that overall.
Literally stats.
Except that
regardless of what it is, that is their choice. They choose to watch his content. They choose to stay tuned into his content. Yes. They very well could have unsubbed from him, follow him no other further. Anytime something pops up about Kevin Samuels, don't watch it at all. Period. Stuff like that. That is their choice. So that's why I said overall, it is their choice if they choose to either make this to be either positive in their life or negative, period.
So I agree. If they're continuing to watch it to a certain extent, yes. But Kevin Samuel's not putting any disclaimers out there as to the fact that this is his perception. What he is
what he did.
No, what he is pushing at the point of those videos is that
I am right.
The facts.
I am right.
With the stats. That's what he is arguing with. And these are young, impressionable people. and their parents, half of them haven't even been there to do the job that parents are meant to do. And you know, and creating minds that are not so impressionable, and that's their stuff. But responsible content creation looks like you're putting out a disclaimer as to what information you're giving and the fact that this is for entertainment purposes only in the beginning of you creating said content.
Exactly.
Not in the aftermath of people's talking about, oh, I might sue you because.
Exactly, because like that's what I do with my content that I put out.
Exactly.
Well, actually, I do this at the very end of my content. I let my subscribers know that, hey, at the end of the day, this is just my perspective, how the way I perceive things. This is only my truth. There's no right or wrong or anything like that. It's okay for you to agree with me. It's okay for you to disagree with me. But all we doing is just having a conversation, and that is it. And I agree with you. I agree with y'all on that. At the end of Kevin Samuels' content, he doesn't put that out and saying, "Hey, at the end of the day, this is just my perspective." He stick to the point that because he done looked up on data and statistics, that he is absolutely right. And I believe that's where the disdain is coming from as well. So yeah, I can agree with y'all on that.
He's welcome to show, you know, what his insights are. But when you start, that's my part about conditioning these group of people, just like that young man that was on here earlier. He's spewing out inaccurate facts. Why? Because he's been conditioned and doesn't even know it, groomed, conditioned to believe that this is reality. It doesn't mean that it's reality just because somebody told you that this were true. Because even if this were a reality for the group of people that were tested, it doesn't make it at all true, albeit truth for everyone else. You know, that's like people arguing the fact of the validation of a COVID vaccine. Oh, but you've gotten sick several times over. Well, the facts say it's effective in preventing death from COVID. Well, you know, that's interesting because quite a few people died from COVID after
getting all 2 shots and boosters.
Right. So we have to learn to be a society of people that are enlightened by these experiences. I think Kevin Samuels did some tremendous, how you say, invalidation of the Black woman. He did a tremendous amount of validating certain Black men who had a specific trauma, certain white men who had a specific trauma. And what happens when we do that is there is no value for your woman. Your woman looks to you to want to submit. She can't submit if you're constantly in competition with her. So it's a dance that we do. And that dance has to be done appropriately. Teaching people how to do that dance doesn't mean that you're objectifying one another. It means that you're respecting one another and one another's differences, one another's incongruences, and congruences that make you unique in your individualhood. So that process, I guess, is something that I would have liked to see differently, show up differently. He put himself into the
I think what it is
he said
I think what it is I see from Samuel was that he presented it as his ideas is as how it is. This is how women really are. There was no room for having other thoughts. What he said was right, and that's a fact. This is how certain men are. That I'm right. That's the fact. There's nothing else. And I think that's what people who have questions or didn't agree with him, they picked that up.
Yeah.
That's what they saw. So what they saw was him being ingenuine, really hostile, really angry, purposely hurtful. And, you know, he may or may not meant all of that, it to be that way. But that's certainly how he looked based on the way he presented and what he said and how he shared. And when you address...
And how he lived his life. And how... Now, the one thing I will say before we end this thing is that he died how he preached. He was practicing what he preached. He had a working woman.
Well, he lived a double life. It's clear.
You know, if he valued the working woman and he saw the value in the working woman, I don't know. Well, sad. It's sad. It's sad, but that was burying him. So, that's definitely, that's our show for today. Thank you guys for sitting this out for the young man.
We love you. We do.
But for the young man who suggested that I go ahead and do this conversation and cover this topic because he felt like I was being disingenuous because I didn't cover Kevin Samuel's death, but I covered so much. And it's interesting that he thinks I covered so much of his content when he was alive. It's interesting because it didn't. I mean, the man probably put out millions of videos. I don't know. I don't subscribe. I'm not a subscriber. Urban Therapist is, so I can't tell you. I've only reviewed, people have asked me specifically to review, and then I reviewed some historical videos when I was getting ready to put out that content, and of course some history and background information that I collected around him and his life. So for me, I'm not a fan. I'm still not a fan. People die. And I do believe someone said earlier, you're supposed to respect people when they're dead. I don't believe in that either. I believe in the same energy that you have with a person in their life. You should continue to maintain that same energy after they are dead. And
it's kind of curious that I heard nothing but a lot of women say that. What you just said.
Well, that's how I feel in general, period, about men and women, I just feel that way. My thing is, if I don't have a personal relationship, if we're not people that are on speaking terms while I'm alive, please don't show up at my funeral. Please don't. Please don't. That's not showing respect. That's showing disrespect. So for me, it's just the reality around the fact that in the ideation that people think that that's a show of respect or a sign of respect for them to tow a person's funeral and attend when you know that you didn't really like that person. You weren't there for that person. You had no personal connection with that person, right? So for me, right, just for me, please understand that I have no wishes for anybody to show up for my burial if we're not on speaking terms, if we didn't like each other, we didn't know each other, and you're not truly coming to pay your respects for the work that I've done and the imprint that I've left on this world. So that's just that piece. You respect the person and you respect their world and their work in life, and then you show up to pay respects. If you do not respect that person or their works in life, why are you there?
See, I have no desire to control people. So when my God of my understanding makes that day for me to move on, that's it. People do whatever they want to do after I'm gone. I don't have control before, and I don't have control then. I just let it be. I didn't watch his stuff because the few times I looked, I knew it wasn't healthy for me to keep looking at what he was talking about. So I let it go because I know it was not a part of how my life looks. It's never been. It never was. So I moved on. I see clients, so I don't need to watch a show and then see clients.
Right.
No.
Right.
I let it go.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank you guys for coming on and sharing your perspectives, your insights, your thoughts and feelings about the topic, about his content and what you saw in his presentation and the value that you took away from his content. Again, in wrapping up, I'm going to say that Kevin Samuels definitely brought forth the reality about the incongruence in this generation of young people. For me, that's how he added value to my life. And that doesn't mean that I am going to change my position now, because that's literally the limits of the value that he added to my life. I only respect the fact that he died the way he died in a way that demonstrates at least he was living that life that he was painting for other people to live. I don't know. I don't know. I just practice what you preach. I guess he did that.
God forgive him for not what he's done. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, when are you coming to Georgia? Urban Therapist, come visit us.
I don't know. I was recently in Florida though.
That doesn't help us.
I just passed y'all all the way.
Very far. Very far.
Yeah, I
Bye,
was in.
bye.
Yeah, I was actually in Florida. I was in Orlando. Then I went to Miami.
That doesn't help us.
Right.
But yeah, you'll never know. I may pull up in Georgia. You'll never know. I'll
We can
probably
do
show
that. Do
up.
a meet and greet.
We actually do a meet and greet. I actually will do an actual live.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But so thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for participating and giving us sharing your insights in the comments. I know that I did not get a chance to really respond and see all of them, but I am definitely going to go back and toe the line, and I will respond to the ones that I can. And as always, it's been real. Remember that Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson is a platform where we gauge the difficult conversations, the very difficult conversations around things. The many things that affect Black, brown, and the melanated community in America and abroad.
Oh, real quick for you, real quick. Hold on. I got to do a quick shameless plug, right? Earlier in the chat, the content creator, Lady Snoop, she was in the chat. She came over because I had shared your video out on my platform. So she came over and showing support. I just want to shout her out as well for coming over and supporting not only the official urban therapist, but also coming over here and being engaged in your discussion as well, Dr. Jefferson. Then one other thing too, before you end I want to ask for a favor. Is it okay that I can use this particular segment of this conversation on one of my shows in the future?
Sure thing. Have at it.
Appreciate you.
Don't have to ask me, sure.
Yeah.
I have to respect the platform because I respect I respect everybody, So
Yeah, go right ahead. This is interesting. You blocked somebody? What was going on? I'm interested in seeing these comments. I'm reading them right now, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that the other person you blocked, that dude was just straight trolling. Or woman, whoever it was. But yeah, Lady Snoop, she's actually a really good content creator. Really good content creator. So shout out to her.
I might have to check.
Yeah, as we approach 3 hours, I think.
Yeah, I think I might have to go back and check that out, But so yeah, I'll be seeing you guys later. Anything you got before we go, Susanna?
No, I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, well, thank you guys for coming on. I'll be seeing you guys later. Bye.
Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I rip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bunny. Don't try better than me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.